Chapter 2432. On Big Boss Mountain, Luo Lamin introduced each checkpoint and the number of people stationed at each checkpoint. Finally, when Yi Qinghan appeared at the city gate, he pointed at Yi Qinghan's projection and said, "Next, let's introduce today's main character, Yi Qinghan. He came from a small plane, Sikong Tanlong's world. Along the way, he overcame all obstacles and was truly invincible among those of the same level. It's common for him to fight against those of a higher level. Let's not talk about the distant past. Let's talk about him entering the immortal world. He gave up his physical body and killed dozens of Earth immortal experts of the Endless Peak Mountain in the form of a little spirit fairy. He avoided the encirclement of many experts of the Endless Peak Mountain. He's really an unkillable cockroach. Even this old man admires him a lot. Despite being besieged along the way, he managed to jump from the little spirit immortal realm to the great circle of the immortal heaven immortal realm. He even reconstructed his physical body. Without the help of a powerful force behind him, he was able to reach this stage. To be honest, if I knew him before, I would have definitely accepted him as my disciple. But it's too late now." Everyone listened quietly as they glanced at Yi Qinghan's resolute face. Even the way he walked was different from ordinary kings. Every step he took was both offensive and defensive, and he could explode with peak power in an instant. His clear eyes exuded a will that soared to the heavens. He was half righteous and half evil. He was definitely a killer of beautiful girls. If everyone believes me, you can bet that he will definitely survive the 10th checkpoint. It's a sure win, Luo Lamin said calmly. The mountain lord of the Endless Peak Mountain asked coldly, "Luo Lamin, are you so sure? If you don't believe me, we can bet on each checkpoint," Luo Lamin said confidently. Boom! Mocking laughter could be heard from Big Boss Mountain. These people had been living in a boring environment all year round, and a little excitement could cause a ruckus. Everyone decided to gamble. Winning or losing was no longer fun for them. They mainly played this process. Every hunting game could make a gold immortal go bankrupt. Outside the main city of Jingfan Mountain, Yi Qinghan felt a wisp of law enveloping him the moment he stepped out of the main city. He felt like he was being watched. This live projection used the great magical power of a golden immortal. It could be projected to the headquarters of the martial arts recording system, and then be transmitted to countless cities from the headquarters. The entire realm of eternity could see it. Whoosh! There were projections outside the main city as well. Yi Qinghan could even see the faint lines on his face. Countless people were looking at the projections, each of them holding a betting slip in their hand. There was no one who didn't want to bet. This was a huge game. Some people could become rich overnight, but even more people would lose everything. When they saw Yi Qinghan appear on the screen, they all turned to look at Yi Qinghan. "You have to die in the second stage. I'll bet that you'll die in the second round." Many people roared. Looking at this group of ferocious faces, Yi Qinghan smiled silently and led Supremacy Yi and Little Fox Immortal forward slowly according to the route. A bunch of idiots. If I were you, I'd bet that my boss would be able to leave the Northern Divine region alive. Supremacy Yi shouted in disdain. Beastmen will never be slaves. My Fox Immortal clan is not a slave. Watch carefully, my Fox Immortal clan can also fight. Little Fox Immortal clenched her fists and shouted to the sky. "Ha ha ha, Little Fox Immortal, if you die with Yi Qinghan, why don't you stay and serve me?" Boom! In an instant, the scene outside became lively. Everyone gathered around, hoping that Little Fox Immortal would stay. Boom! Yi Qinghan's fingertips moved the scabbard. The Tengu saber exuded a towering saber aura. It was tough and domineering, and it had the demeanor of a Tengu saber hero. It instantly forced the people around him to retreat. "With just you guys? Let's bet that my boss won't survive the second stage. You bastards will lose to him." Little Fox Immortal cursed angrily. Li Peiza was waiting for Yi Qinghan outside the city. When he saw Yi Qinghan walk out, he quickly walked over and punched Yi Qinghan's chest. Then, he stepped back and said, "Take care!" Yi Qinghan stood there, holding the saber in his right hand and pressing it against his left chest. It was a very strange posture. No one understood what Yi Qinghan's posture meant. Li Peiza didn't know either, but it was impossible for Kuang Zong to not know. This was the posture of the ancient killing god when he swore an oath. It was also the posture of the ancient killing god when he protected the world. It meant that he would not regret dying on the battlefield. "I will fight for my dignity. Even if I die, I will not regret it," Yi Qinghan said calmly. He sped up and walked towards the east. Yi Qinghan's words echoed on Big Brother Mountain, causing it to become deathly silent. Fight for dignity. What a motivating sentence, but how laughable it was at this moment. What dignity did an ant have? Even if he stood proudly like a 7 feet tall lone poplar, wasn't he still surrounded by the world like a beast? At this moment, Marquis Zun Long frowned and looked coldly at the Eastern Emperor Grand Venerable who was sitting in the corner. He seemed to doubt the Eastern Emperor Grand Venerable's evaluation of Yi Qinghan. The eyes were the window to the soul. Yi Qinghan's eyes told the world that he was not a greedy person who was afraid of death, nor was he an opportunistic person. Everything he did, every step he took, was done with a clear conscience. On the projection, there was only Yi Qinghan's back. He was cold and domineering, and the domineering aura of a king rushed out from his bones. Whoosh, the direction changed and the projection was in front of Yi Qinghan. A man, a woman, and a child, this combination was indeed somewhat unbelievable. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan waved his hand and called the divine bird and the little fox immortal away. He said indifferently, "You guys rest first. There will be a chance for you to fight later." The divine bird and the little fox immortal couldn't win against Yi Qinghan, so they could only obediently stay in the bloodline. Rub rub rub. Rustle rustle rustle. Yi Qinghan held the scabbard in his left hand and the Tongu blade in his right hand. His speed was getting faster and faster. Every step he took was enough to rush out dozens of meters. The projection technique was very good. Sometimes it was projected in front of Yi Qinghan, sometimes it was his back, sometimes it was the side of his face. There was even a close-up of his blade light. The stone slabs under his feet were cracked by his step. In the first stage, there was only a mystic immortal at the initial stage and hundreds of sky immortal experts guarding it. Yi Qinghan had to force his way out. If he went out of the route, he would be killed by the experts. This was the rule. He knew it, so he didn't think of leaving the route to escape. The route in the beginning was very narrow. Yi Qinghan saw a valley 30,000 meters away from the east gate of Jingfan Mountain. The surrounding terrain was occupied by them, so it wouldn't be easy to rush over. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan didn't even think about it. He directly rushed into the valley and crushed the ground with one step. The 5 elements rolled. Roar! Roar! Yi Qinghan controlled his immortal spiritual energy and turned it into a 5-clawed golden dragon. It roared in the void and rushed to the Milky Way. Whoosh! The Tongu blade broke through the void like a hot knife through butter. It cut through the immortal sword in the hands of an immortal sky immortal a few hundred meters away with a thunderous force. It broke through his defense and his body was torn apart. His blood stained the ground. "Those who block me shall die." A furious roar shook the sky. It was so overbearing that it made many experts at the peak of the sky immortal realm tremble and their faces turn pale. Looking for recommendation tickets and monthly tickets. Chapter 2433. All around the valley, hundreds of flowers withered and thousands of birds fled frantically. The murderous aura caused the plants to wilt. Boom! Yi Qinghan's blade was unstoppable. Even the defense and immortal weapon of the immortal heaven immortal were cut in half from the waist. The corpse was shattered into pieces by the force. "Those who block me shall die." The roar shook the experts in all directions, causing their faces to turn pale and their hands to tremble. This game was not only cruel to Yi Qinghan, but it was also cruel to those who surrounded him. How could someone who could be chosen as the main character of the game be trash? Invincible kings had no problem fighting across realms. The immortal heaven immortal perfection was just a piece of cake. Yi Qinghan transformed into a ferocious tiger and left the mountain. It was as if he was cutting vegetables. The mysteries of the 9// chain saber were displayed to the peak. None of the immortal heaven immortal experts could block his attack. The peak of strength was displayed by him. Immortal runes filled the air and countless branches circled in the sky. Even a leaf became a killing weapon. The mystic immortal experts standing far away were originally calm. But after a while, their faces turned ugly. When Yi Qinghan reached the center of the valley, they did not even have the courage to draw their swords. Momentum! Momentum! Boom! Yi Qinghan stomped his foot and the valley collapsed. The Tonggu saber seemed to be his natural weapon. Space and time were cut open. The immortal perfection expert raised his sword to block, but it was like a piece of rotten wood. He could not stop his blade at all. Pucci! The immortal runes and saber energy directly destroyed the vitality and immortal soul of the immortal body. More than 100 people were slaughtered in the blink of an eye. The mystic immortal expert made his move. His sword energy soared to the sky. Die! Whoosh! A sword flattened the sky. The mystic immortal expert became one with his sword and turned into a sharp arrow that shot towards Yi Qinghan. Whoosh! Boom! Yi Qinghan's feet shattered the ground as if they were rooted. The Tonggu saber slashed down from above. In the blink of an eye, it hit the immortal sword of the mystic immortal expert. It was also a mystic immortal weapon, but the Tonggu saber was stronger. Pucci! Crack, 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 crack! The terrifying sound of the immortal weapon being torn apart reverberated throughout the entire valley. The shockwave swept out, and even the mountains on both sides were shaken off. The aftershock sent dozens of perfection heaven immortal experts flying. Boom! Yi Qinghan's feet were jolted into the rock. Tonggu's saber directly tore the immortal sword apart and struck the hilt, splitting the immortal sword into two. Bang! The immortal spiritual energy within that mystic immortal's body erupted and clashed with Yi Qinghan. His immortal light shot out an aurora that shot straight into the clouds. Boom! Yi Qinghan raised his leg and gave a high kick. His moves were as smooth as flowing water, and the back of his leg fiercely kicked the profound immortal realm expert's face. The face of the mysterious immortal realm expert was warped and savage. Several of his teeth had been broken by the kick, and he spat out a large mouthful of blood. His body couldn't help but fall to the right and fiercely collide with the broken valley. Boom! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's move succeeded. His body soared into the sky, and his chain of kicks transformed into an immortal weapon. He continuously struck the chest of the mystic immortal realm expert. The mystic immortal realm expert's immortal body was destroyed. In close combat, as long as the gap wasn't too big, no one could contend against his abnormal physical body and reaction speed. Bang! The mystic immortal realm expert was kicked out of the valley and into a large plain area. Yi Qinghan's fist tore through mountains and rivers, and struck towards the mystic immortal realm expert's head. As long as this mystic immortal realm expert was hit, he would be crippled. The mystic immortal realm expert of the Endless Peak Mountain was defeated. His eyes were dazed, and he felt that death was approaching. However, at the last moment Yi Qinghan stopped. His fist turned into a claw, and he directly grabbed the mystic immortal realm expert's neck. He looked up into the sky because he knew that he would be projected. The big shots of the Endless Peak Mountain were also looking at him. Back then, I did kill 32 Earth Immortals of the Endless Peak Mountain. Now, I will use the lives of 32 Mystic Immortal Realm experts to repay you. I hope this can resolve the grudge. As for the 9 murders sect, I'll kill as many as you come. Bang! Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand and placed the Mystic Immortal Realm expert on the ground. He took a deep breath, glanced at the Heaven Immortal Realm experts who had not died in battle, and was about to leave. Unfortunately, the people of the Endless Peak Mountain were carrying out a mission that would definitely kill them. If Yi Qinghan didn't die, who would dare to not fight? At that time, they would probably not die. Therefore, this group of people was unafraid of death. They roared and charged towards Yi Qinghan to boost their courage. Yi Qinghan's vicious aura rushed out from his body. Roar! Roar! Yi Qinghan roared angrily, and transformed into a dragon that soared into the sky. The long dragon swept through the earth and space, forming a tornado that spun faster and faster. The suction force of the whirlpool became more and more exaggerated. Even Heaven Immortal Realm experts couldn't escape from his restraint. Roar! The dragon head reached down from the top of the whirlpool, and a furious roar soared into the galaxy. It was like a bomb had exploded, and the shock wave shattered the mountain rocks and ancient trees. The remaining 40 Heaven Immortal Realm experts' clothes were tattered, and their souls were shaken into darkness. Their immortal bodies were torn apart, and their injuries were shocking. Boom! Yi Qinghan transformed into his original form, and coldly glanced at everyone. It would be easy for him to kill this group of people now. However, he still wanted to resolve the enmity with the Endless Peak Mountain. Even if he couldn't resolve it, he would have a clear conscience. Sha Sha Sha. Yi Qinghan left behind a back view. The first round seemed to be very easy. On Boss Mountain, the Mountain Lord of the Endless Peak Mountain was even more vicious. If Yi Qinghan had killed this group of people, he might not have wanted to kill Yi Qinghan so much. Unfortunately, he didn't kill Yi Qinghan. It was as if he was giving the Endless Peak Mountain a chance to seek peace. Yi Qinghan passed the first round, but it didn't arouse the interest of the group of Boss Mountain. If Yi Qinghan couldn't even pass the first round, the rest would be meaningless. East Divine Region, outside the ancestral land of the Eastern Emperor bloodline, a huge projection was broadcasting. Countless people were watching, and everyone had to pay a certain amount of money. Regardless of whether they were gambling or not, they were all watching with anticipation. Donghuang Xian was also there. At this moment, his small fists were clenched so tightly that cold sweat was dripping down. His eyes were fixed on the projection. It was the same in the Ancient Emperor Academy. However, only Su Zhan and a few others were worried about Yi Qinghan. Everyone else was just here for the game. The fief of the Insane Manor was now considered a small city. With the protection of the princess, it attracted a large number of immigrants and investors. At this moment, countless blackheads had gathered outside the Insane Manor city. Xianyuan Qingyun frowned as she watched Yi Qinghan rush out of the first round. She had a question in her heart, so she asked Gu Qingyu and the other members of the insane sect, "Can any of you explain to me what Yi Qinghan's actions meant when he left the city? From your expressions it seems like you all understand." Gu Qingyu and the others were stunned. They immediately thought of Yi Qinghan's ancient killing god oath and the ceremony when he went to battle. That is the oath and ceremony when we joined a faction when we were young. It means, blood stains the battlefield. Even if we die, we will not regret it. We will fight for our lives, dignity, and clansmen, Gu Qingyu said calmly. Huff, huff, huff. Xianyuan Qingyun exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Her face was a little red, and she felt a little relaxed. In the central region of the northern god state, two people were quietly approaching Yi Qinghan's escape route. However, as soon as they got close, they were stopped by the intelligence system. Report. Her Highness the Princess has ordered the two of you not to interfere. The live broadcast of the hunting game has started. It is too dangerous. If you interfere, you will die without a doubt. Moreover, you will implicate Yi Qinghan, the spy said quickly. Yan Yunbei and Lin Wutian had already rushed to the northern god state. Asking them to go back now was more painful than dying. Yan Yunbei took a deep breath and said to Lin Wutian, Wutian, I can still help ye. You go back to Spirit Central City first. Lin Wutian was not willing to go back at this time. Just as he was about to speak, Yan Yunbei glared and said angrily, Do you want to kill your master? I can at least hide in the dark and help at any time. What can you do? They are all mystic immortals and perfected sky immortals. Instead of dying here, why don't you help the insane sect? Uncle Yan, take care. Lin Wutian's face was ferocious, and his eyes were a little red. Only he knew the anger and helplessness in his heart. Chapter 2434. In the central region of the North Divine Region, Lin Wutian retreated, and Yan Yunbei disappeared. Jingfan Mountain's territory, Dongling Mountain. Yi Qinghan had just arrived here, and he didn't dare to be too hasty. He held the map in one hand and the Tonggu saber in the other as he carefully studied the map. The second stage was 300 miles behind Dongling Mountain. There was a canyon there, and it was very dangerous. It was guarded by the people of the Nine Kills sect, and it was very suitable for hiding and assassination. Every place was suitable for them, and Yi Qinghan wouldn't be able to take advantage of it. Yi Qinghan curled his lips and glanced around. He could feel a faint killing intent shrouding him. There must be experts above the midstage of Mystic Immortal from the Nine Kills sect and Ultimate Peak Mountain waiting for me to leave the route. Yi Qinghan exhaled, kept the map, and gradually increased his speed. The mountain path was rugged, and the route wasn't official. It was mainly because they were afraid that this game would affect the operation of the world. Yi Qinghan held his saber and traveled alone. His eyes flashed as he shuttled through the mountains. His speed wasn't slow in the early stages. The second stage is a big one. There are 3 Mystic Immortals, 120 Immortal Heaven Immortals, and 30 Perfection Heaven Immortals. These Heaven Immortals aren't much, but the 3 Mystic Immortals. Yi Qinghan muttered to himself. The Divine Bird was his trump card, and he couldn't use it for the time being. Yi Qinghan came to a peak, and he could even see a large group of experts patrolling the mountains. All the routes were blocked. If he wanted to pass, he had to force his way through or take a detour. However, once he took a detour, he would be out of the route. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan took out the map again and enlarged it. Every narrow path in the mountains could be seen. Tap tap tap, Yi Qinghan kept tapping on the map and looked 10 miles away, looking for a weak point to break through. Unless one was a madman, no one would want to kill their way through. It was no different from an ordinary man. In the early stages, one had to use the fastest speed and the most effortless way to pass. Otherwise, in the later stages, there was no need to fight at all. One would be dead without any strength. It was too far away, and the other party was constantly changing their positions. Some of the hidden assassins were hiding somewhere, and it was impossible to determine where the weak point was. Swish, swish, swish. Yi Qinghan brandished his saber and chopped off some weeds and branches. He smeared the sap on his face to disguise himself. Even his clothes were soaked in green. In the deep mountains, as long as he restrained his breath and did not move around randomly, it was not easy to find him. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan sheathed his Tonggu saber in its scabbard and smeared the scabbard with a green liquid. Half of the scabbard was green while the other half was brown. The color of the scabbard was very similar to the color of a stone. This kind of top-grade camouflage was a special camouflage technique used by Special Troop. It was used specifically for hunting missions, and even assassins would use it. Screech! An eagle swept across the sky, flying close to Yi Qinghan's head. Then, it swooped down the mountain and rushed into the group of assassins on the opposite side. Yi Qinghan's heart skipped a beat. He did not expect the other party to use a bird as a scout to find out his position. He had to be careful with every step he took, especially the birds in the sky. They were all targets to be wary of. Swish, swish, swish. Swish, swish, swish. Yi Qinghan increased his speed and sprinted through the steep mountain. He was completely sticking close to the rocks and thorns, like a monkey in a dense forest. On Big Brother Mountain, hundreds of golden immortals looked at Yi Qinghan on the projection in astonishment. Was this little fella from the army in the past? Or was he from an assassin organization? Someone asked curiously. Everyone looked at Luo Lamin. He was the organizer. Logically speaking, he should have investigated all 18 generations of Yi Qinghan's ancestors. Luo Lamin shook his head and said with certainty, "No, he has never been in the army of the undying immortal world. Unless he was in the special forces of the small plane where he came from. From the looks of it, he wants to muddle through. He doesn't want to fight at all. That's boring. We have to put pressure on him." Everyone started to clamor. They didn't care about Yi Qinghan's life at all. As long as they had fun, it was fine. Miao Zun frowned. However, he didn't say anything. Perhaps he felt that Yi Qinghan was definitely going to die this time. There was no need to offend other golden immortals for a dead person. Everyone looked at Luo Lamin. They hoped that he would intervene at this stage and not allow Yi Qinghan to take advantage of the situation. Luo Lamin shrugged and said calmly, "As long as everyone is happy, I have no objections. However, the payout will have to be changed. If Yi Qinghan survives, the payout will be doubled. After all, the difficulty has increased. It's fair to everyone." "Okay, no problem," everyone said in unison. Hua. Luo Lamin's projection disappeared. Just as Yi Qinghan approached the second stage, a beam of light enveloped Yi Qinghan, exposing his location. Yi Qinghan was stunned. He thought that he could easily muddle through. He didn't expect the martial arts recording system to cheat and expose him. It was the Golden Immortal who used the projection technique that exposed him. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed coldly. He stared angrily at the sky and clenched his fist. However, there was nothing he could do. He might be able to vent his anger now, but he would offend the martial arts recording system as well. Huff, huff, huff. Yi Qinghan breathed out a few times. He clenched his fists and walked out into the open with his saber. "Since you guys like to use force, I'll just kill my way through. Life and death are up to fate. Success and failure are up to the heavens." Boom! Yi Qinghan charged into the crowd. He turned his anger into strength. He cut down countless branches with his saber and used his qi as a sword. Countless branches turned into immortal weapons and flew through the air, attacking the assassins in a large area. These assassins were only there to attract Yi Qinghan's attention. They were more like cannon fodder. The real killing move was hidden in the dark. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Many immortal experts drew their swords and surrounded Yi Qinghan from all directions. They were all fighting with their lives. In an instant, blood flowed like a river and dyed the ground red. Swoosh. Yi Qinghan turned into a spiritual monkey and shuttled through the crowd. Occasionally, he would stick close to the cliff and grab onto a fulcrum to cross a cliff that was tens of meters high. Not everyone could fly in the stable high-level immortal world. Yi Qinghan couldn't do it, and others couldn't do it either, unless they were mystic immortal experts. The others couldn't keep up with Yi Qinghan's speed or agility. Some of them fell down quickly. Even if they could use sword kinesis flight for a short period of time, the falling speed was too fast. If they didn't suffer heavy injuries, they wouldn't be able to rush to the top of the cliff in a short period of time. For auras were faintly discernible. Their killing intent was so concealed that it could be ignored. These were the experts of the 9 Kills sect. Although they were all mystic immortals, once they attacked, It was enough to cause a fatal impact on Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan couldn't divert his attention to pay attention to the four mystic immortals. There were too many enemies, and he was in a mess. Even if his speed was extremely fast, he was still in a difficult situation. Swoosh. Just when Yi Qinghan was escaping to the edge of the path, a rainbow streaked across the sky and swept past his head. It cut off a few strands of his hair, and almost chopped his head off. Yi Qinghan subconsciously shrank his head and dodged the sure-kill attack. His body stomped on the ground and flew backward rapidly. His face was pale. Boom! The first mystic immortal attacked, followed by the second. From behind Yi Qinghan, he held a short dagger and stabbed towards his neck. A close combat expert. Yi Qinghan sensed it at the first moment. He slapped the ground with his palm and stabbed the saber in his right hand backward. It collided with the short dagger, causing sparks to fly everywhere. Chapter 2435. Boom! Crack, crack, crack. An ear-piercing sound tore through the eardrums, and sparks flew in all directions. Yi Qinghan's body flipped in the air, and he had completely lost control. However, at this critical moment, he didn't panic at all. He glanced in all directions, and the other two paths of survival had become dead ends. This was because the two hidden mystic immortal experts had all moved out, and their sword chi was like a rainbow, waiting for him to crash into them. Boom! Yi Qinghan's saber slashed at the mountain rock, and he slid in the direction of the mystic immortal who had been sent flying by him. Bang! Yi Qinghan stepped on the mystic immortal's head, and flew over his head. He borrowed the strength of his leg, and kicked the mystic immortal off the cliff, and then he soared into the sky and transformed into a rock, and swooped down onto a small mountain in front of him. Crack! Thud, thud, thud. The mountain was crushed by him, and Yi Qinghan staggered a few times before stabilizing his body with great difficulty. Die! Whoosh, 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 whoosh. A mystic immortal expert followed up with 9 swords, and every sword was connected to the previous one. They sealed off all of Yi Qinghan's paths of advancement, and behind him was an abyss cliff. Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He held the Tonggu saber with both hands and crossed his legs. He looked straight at the mystic immortal expert who was attacking him, but he was paying attention to the other 3 mystic immortals from the corner of his eyes. Danger lurked everywhere, and the slightest carelessness would result in death, and not even a corpse would be left. Yi Qinghan grinned coldly, and a saber technique appeared in his mind. It was a saber technique carved by Zhang Fan, and it was extremely powerful, precise, and had a powerful explosive force. It was attached with the profound mysteries of a half-step golden immortal, and normal mystic immortals wouldn't be able to block it, let alone these beginner-stage mystic immortals. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's force suddenly erupted, and it was as if Zhang Fan had descended. Just the will of his eyes alone caused the 4 mystic immortals to stagnate, and their blood was suppressed. Their blood flow slowed, and even their immortal energy couldn't be controlled accurately. The saber was unsheathed, and it transformed into a flash of light that was domineering and cold. It had the domineering aura of madness and Zhang Fan's mental state. It was so fast that even mystic immortals couldn't dodge it. It directly shattered the void and slashed 1,000 meters in front of him. A black hole appeared in the void, and it was boundlessly deep. Roar! The darkness was like a bloody maw that directly swallowed that mysterious immortal realm expert. That mysterious immortal realm expert didn't even have the time to let out a shrill cry before the void healed. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The sound of the void shattering was intertwined with the gasps of the 3 Xian immortals. This was a half-step golden immortal level mystic technique. Who could withstand a golden immortal level mystic technique when activated? Big Boss Mountain, which of these people wasn't a top-notch existence? At this moment, he discovered the problem with a single glance. This person has a half-step gold immortal backing him? Or maybe he has a golden immortal behind him. Luo Lamin was shocked. He actually didn't investigate this question clearly. Impossible. If there really is a half-step gold immortal, would that trash Sikong Tan Lang dare to act recklessly? Miao Zun, who understood Yi Qinghan, asked indifferently. Marquis Zun Long looked at a middle-aged expert with a dignified face. This person was a golden immortal from Qing Zun Immortal Empire and a marquis with a high status. His name was Xian Yuan Tai. He wasn't a direct descendant of Qing Zun Immortal Empire but a distant relative. The reason why Marquis Zun Long looked at Xian Yuan Tai was because the person behind Sikong Tan Lang was him. Sikong Tan Lang's boundary steel was created by him, so Sikong Tan Lang's backer was also him. Xian Yuan Tai shook his head and said calmly, Yi Qinghan definitely doesn't have a half-step gold immortal backing him. He's just an ant from a small plane. At this moment, everyone was looking at Yi Qinghan on the projection. That one saber strike had shocked the other three mystic immortals so much that they didn't dare to move recklessly. The remaining power of that saber strike had yet to dissipate, and Yi Qinghan seemed to still have enough momentum. He could definitely unleash a second strike. While everyone was silent, a new member had appeared on Big Boss Mountain. Zhang Fan came out of seclusion and his aura became much more transcendent compared to before. The difference between a half-step gold immortal and a golden immortal was indeed huge. Zhang Fan greets Dao friends. I'm late for seclusion, please forgive me. Zhang Fan bowed and said. Everyone got up to congratulate him. Only ancient Heavenly Emperor, Marquis Zun Long, Jing Fan Mountain Lord and Extreme Peak Mountain Lord didn't stand up. Ancient Heavenly Emperor and Marquis Zun Long were already transcendent. Other than immortal emperors, no one could compare to them. Zhang Fan bowed in return and said, I once gave this kid a small accessory. This saber move was comprehended from the saber art on my accessory. I didn't give him any pointers. Everyone, don't worry. What? This fella's comprehension is so high? Luo Lamin asked in shock. Zhang Fan nodded honestly. At this moment, he also hoped that ancient Heavenly Emperor and the other Supremes could see his talent and speak up to protect Yi Qinghan. As long as two of them were willing to be born, Extreme Peak Mountain Lord would give them face. Unfortunately, these old monsters had never seen a monster before. Yi Qinghan's current performance couldn't enter their eyes. Marquis Zun Long couldn't speak up to protect Yi Qinghan. He was the one who chased Yi Qinghan away. If he spoke up now, there would be animosity between them. He wouldn't take the risk of nurturing a person who might hate him. Ancient Heavenly Emperor still didn't know that Yi Qinghan was rejected by Ouyang Hor. However, he didn't say anything because offending an Extreme Peak Mountain Lord wasn't a joke. In your opinion, how many moves can Yi Qinghan use like this? Luo Lamin asked curiously. Zhang Fan took a deep breath and sighed. 3 moves is already the limit. So, it depends on whether the 3 9 kills sex Xian immortals are willing to work for others. After 3 moves, Yi Qinghan will definitely die. But Xian immortals, who would be willing to work for others with their lives. In the eastern region of Eastern Spirit Mountain, Yi Qinghan held a saber in his hand, intimidating everyone. At this moment, he was also secretly gathering the immortal spiritual energy in the world to recover his immortal spiritual energy. His aura was still soaring to the sky, causing the clouds to roll and the heavenly might to surge. Yi Qinghan raised his head and looked at the experts from the 3 sides. Those immortal heavenly immortals couldn't interfere anymore. Now, he could only look at the remaining 3 Xian immortals. The 3 experts looked at each other and nodded. They instantly circulated their peak Xian immortal power and formed countless sword lights that enveloped Yi Qinghan. Long-range attack. This was where Yi Qinghan was at a disadvantage. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Boom boom boom. Yi Qinghan waved his Tengu saber, and the immortal runes turned into thousands of attacks. Although they couldn't attack, they could defend. They shattered the incoming sword lights one by one, causing the attacks of the experts from the three sides to dissipate. As time passed, Yi Qinghan's golden body of utmost holiness was pushed to the limit. The potential in his body was excavated, and endless immortal spiritual energy surged from his bone marrow. Void crack. Boom. Yi Qinghan once again unleashed a half-step golden immortal saber technique, which directly cut open the void. The black hole once again enveloped the front and swallowed a mountain. The Xian immortal on the mountain had just flown up when he was drowned by the darkness. Whoosh! The Tonggu saber changed from a vertical slash to a horizontal slash, sweeping in all directions and drawing an arc, annihilating everything in its path. The air waves spread to the endless depth. Boom! Yi Qinghan crushed the mountain with a single step. He was like a sharp arrow, drawing a long rainbow as he charged to the front left. His saber split the air and slashed across the neck of the Xian immortal expert. His head was directly chopped off, and his immortal body was destroyed by the violent saber chi and golden immortal arcana. Plop! The Xian immortal expert's body fell off the cliff, and his head was separated from his body. 3 slashes. This was the limit of Zhang Fan's prediction. When everyone thought that Yi Qinghan was about to fall, he actually took to the air and flew away. He slashed more than 10 times in the air, and with the help of the air, he jumped back to the plains in the distance. Chapter 2436. Huff huff huff. On the Big Brother mountain, the mountain master's breathing quickened when he saw Yi Qinghan unleash the 3rd slash. He wished he could order the remaining mystic immortal to attack and take Yi Qinghan's life. The extreme emperor's veins were bulging because the remaining mystic immortal was an elder of the 9 killing sect. What are you waiting for? It's such a good opportunity to attack. The extreme emperor roared. Even a golden immortal would be anxious because he knew that if he missed this opportunity, Yi Qinghan could at least last until the 4th stage. As expected, the remaining mystic immortal was forced into a corner. If he didn't attack now, there wouldn't be anyone left to help him. He soared into the sky and slashed with his sword, piercing through time and space and piercing towards Yi Qinghan on the plains. The sword chi was like a dragon roaring and a tiger pouncing, destroying everything in its path. Yi Qinghan, who was supposed to be dead, suddenly unleashed a torrential amount of immortal spiritual energy as he slashed with his sword. Void fissure. Roar. The dragon and tiger came out of the mountain, and the sword raged as it slashed through the void. The huge sword radiance swept across the periphery of Eastern Spirit Mountain. Everything withered and withered as an endless black hole appeared in front of it, swallowing the last mystic immortal. It even covered a large area of the peak immortal stage experts on the mountain peak. The black hole wanted to devour all the enemies. Boom! Just as Yi Qinghan was frantically absorbing the immortal spiritual energy of heaven and earth, the void fissure stopped abruptly and quickly sealed itself. Plop! Yi Qinghan's blood surged, and a mouthful of blood was stuck in his throat. His body was dim, and he couldn't stand up anymore. He fell straight to the ground. Puff! Yi Qinghan spat out a mouthful of blood. The energy in his body had almost dried up. He withstood 4 slashes from the void fissure, but after that, he couldn't stand up anymore. Huff huff huff, Yi Qinghan panted heavily. His face was pale as he stabbed his sword into the ground. He looked up and realized that there were more than 10 assassins moving towards him. They were too close, and he didn't have time to recover his strength. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The 14 assassins were extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, they appeared 100 meters away. Yi Qinghan swallowed an immortal pill, and his immortal spiritual energy quickly recovered. With a wave of his hand, Little Fox Immortal and Divine Bird were released. Divine Bird, don't use your trump cards for now. I can use my physical body to stop some of them, Yi Qinghan said firmly. How could the great supreme being Yi let go of an opportunity to show off? At this moment, he said proudly, "Don't worry, leave this group of trash to me." At this time, Yi Qinghan was only facing a group of trash. It seemed that no one was optimistic about the group of peak, immortal heavenly immortals. They were even weaker than Yi Qinghan. Even if Yi Qinghan had less immortal spiritual force, he could still destroy them with the help of his two spirit pet. At Big Boss Mountain, no one mocked Zhang Fan for his wrong prediction. Instead, they found it more interesting. The only ones who were disappointed were the Extreme Een Emperor and the Eastern Emperor Grand Exalt. At this time, Great Peak Mountain Master had already made up his mind. Yi Qinghan's strength was far beyond his expectations. With such combat strength, he wouldn't be able to kill him in the first 10 stages. He adjusted his mentality and looked at this hunting game as if it were a game. The most excited was the Crazy Sect's fief. Everyone from the Crazy Sect kept staring at the projection. Xianyuan Qingyun's eyes flashed with a strange light. She kept mobilizing her powerful generals. This group of people quickly disappeared from the fief and headed straight for Spirit Central City. At this moment, many experts in Spirit Central City were already prepared to welcome Yi Qinghan. A few months later, Lin Wutian returned to Spirit Central City from the Northern Divine region. He didn't leave but waited here. In the distant hinterland of the Northern Divine region, a figure shuttled back and forth like a ghost. Although his concealment technique was low-level, it was difficult to detect. Yan Yunbei appeared in the middle of the hunting route. He described a detailed map for Yi Qinghan, including the exact location and number of enemies, and detailed how to attack. He was extremely cautious and nervous along the way. If he was exposed, he would definitely die. Yan Yunbei moved forward slowly, but Yi Qinghan was fighting desperately. Near Eastern Spirit Mountain, the Divine Bird and Little Fox Immortal were in charge of restraining the enemies, while Yi Qinghan was in charge of killing. Blood flowed like a river, and corpses were strewn everywhere. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan stabbed an enemy's throat. The powerful immortal pattern directly destroyed his life force and soul. Boom! Yi Qinghan pulled out his battle sword and waved his hand to push the corpse away. There were 14 people left, and now they were all down. His exhausted golden body of absolute saint didn't have any strength left. Blood dyed his body red. There were at least a dozen sword wounds on his body, but they didn't hurt his foundation or bone marrow. His battle suit wasn't too badly damaged, and the injuries were concentrated on his arms and legs. Some of the wounds were so shocking that even his bones could be seen clearly. "Guard me. I need to rest for a while," Yi Qinghan said to Little Fox Immortal and the Divine Bird tiredly. The Divine Bird proudly stood beside Yi Qinghan and waved its little fist. It proudly said, "I didn't even have to do anything, and they're already down." Little Fox Immortal looked up at the sky and said, "Do you see that? My Fox Immortal clan can fight. We are on equal footing with any powerful clan. We are not slaves to any of you." Unfortunately, everyone looked at the projection. Little Fox Immortal's actions didn't move anyone, only the Fox Immortal clan. Time passed slowly, and the hunting route was filled with killing intent. Yi Qinghan sat cross-legged and rested for half a day. He swallowed at least 3 immortal pills at the peak of the sky immortal realm and absorbed the immortal spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The surface of his body was sparkling and translucent, and the light of treasures flowed. He was once again filled with vitality. A light breeze swept past, and his hair fluttered. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan put away Little Fox Immortal and the Divine Bird and set off again. He passed by a clear stream and simply washed his face. He didn't even dare to take off his clothes. At this time, the whole world was broadcasted live, and there was no privacy. After leaving the stream, Yi Qinghan took out the map again and carefully checked it. He found that the road ahead was a plain area, which wasn't suitable for the experts of the 9 Kills sect to attack. They should be experts from the ultimate peak mountain. In the plain area, Yi Qinghan increased his speed. Soon, he encountered a tribe that stretched for 4 to 5 miles. Phew! Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and pulled the little divine bird out. He stretched out his hand and said, "Give me some of the immortal rings you just collected. I want to enter the tribe and rent a guest room to rest. Now that I'm broadcasted live, I can't even change my F***king clothes. My body is covered in blood." The divine bird curled its lips. It had collected the money with great difficulty, but it couldn't escape from Yi Qinghan's hands. Whoosh! The divine bird threw out an immortal ring and said with dissatisfaction, "You wastrel, use it sparingly." Yi Qinghan shook his head and quickly checked the immortal ring. There were only a few 100,000 celestial coins and a few substandard sky immortal pills. The value wasn't that high. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan and the divine bird quickly entered the tribe. They found that the village was relatively backward, and there wasn't even a projection. Small houses were everywhere, and only the central area had some bustling streets and buildings. Luckily, not everyone is watching me. Yi Qinghan secretly rejoiced and quickly entered the simple and unadorned tribe. The people here didn't seem to see outsiders coming in. They all looked at Yi Qinghan. After all, he reeked of blood, so they all kept a respectful distance. Yi Qinghan shrugged and didn't disturb this group of people. He directly went to the bustling street. There weren't even many inns here. There was only one that was located at the corner of the street. It was a 2-story wooden house, and there were even fewer guests inside. There were only a few adventurers and 2 servants serving inside. Chapter 2437. On Big Boss Mountain, Yin Ji Huang placed a bet of 8 billion Celeste on Yi Qinghan dying in this round. This bet wasn't considered high for a big boss, but the odds were 1/30. Yin Ji Huang actually placed such a huge bet, which attracted some people's attention. At this moment, Zhang Fan actually made a huge bet. He took out 15 billion celestial coins to bet with the extreme Yin Emperor that Yi Qinghan would be able to leave the 3rd stage alive. The odds were extremely low. Even so, if he won, he would still be able to win the extreme Yin Emperor's 8 billion celestial coins. Zhang Fan had just entered the golden immortal realm, and this 15 billion was his net worth. Yin Ji Huang's 8 billion was just a drop in the ocean. Miao Zun looked at Zhang Fan solemnly. He tugged at Zhang Fan's sleeve and left the projection. Outside Jingfan City, Miao Zun looked at Zhang Fan seriously and warned, "Junior brother Zhang Fan, don't mess around. You just trust Yi Qinghan too much. That's why you came up with this hunting game. Now that you're betting with Yin Ji Huang, if you lose, you won't be able to make a comeback for millions of years." Zhang Fan smiled and said firmly, "I believe in Yi Qinghan. He can survive the 3rd round." Nonsense. There must be some in the open and some in the dark. Yin Ji Huang must have the confidence to kill Yi Qinghan since he dared to place such a huge bet. The tribe behind is part of the 3rd round. You don't even know what he's doing, yet you're betting with your net worth. Are you crazy? Zhang Fan said confidently, "I can't guarantee anything else, but he can definitely pass the 3rd round. Yin Ji Huang's 8 billion Celeste is mine." Miao Zun couldn't do anything about Zhang Fan's stubbornness. He could only look at the projections silently. Everyone was betting crazily. Many people lost so much that they cursed Yi Qinghan. They were betting on Yi Qinghan's death in every round. Naturally, many people lost. However, some people bet on Yi Qinghan's survival and won a lot. At the corner of the tribal street, Yi Qinghan walked into the inn. The decorations inside were simple and clean. It was as if the servants here had obsessive-compulsive disorder. Yi Qinghan scanned his surroundings. Other than being too clean, there seemed to be no other problem. However, it was precisely because this place was too clean that it aroused his suspicions. This was just an inn in a small tribe. It should have been messy and full of junk, but it was obviously different here. Many things seemed to have just been cleared away. There's a small problem with this inn. But logically speaking, the people from the Nine Kills sect and Ultimate Peak Mountain shouldn't have arranged for people to kill me here. Aren't they afraid of implicating others? Yi Qinghan was a little puzzled, but he did not take it to heart. The strength of this servant was only at the early stage of the fairy immortal realm, so there was no need to worry about him. As for the adventurers, their strength was about the same, so they could not pose a threat to him. When the servant saw Yi Qinghan walk in, he immediately went up to him and said respectfully, "Dear guest, are you here for a meal or for a room?" "I'm here for a meal. Prepare a room for me and some bath water." "I need it now," Yi Qinghan said calmly. The servant immediately replied, "Yes, dear guest. The rooms are all empty now. Do you prefer the second floor or the first floor?" "The first floor's room by the road." When Yi Qinghan came in, he discovered that the first room by the road on the second floor had a view of the bustling area. He could also see the people entering the tribe. If an enemy came, he would be the first to notice it. After entering the room, Yi Qinghan closed the door. He opened a corner of the window and looked at the two ends of the street. As long as someone entered the tribe or the inn, he could see everything clearly. The mysterious fluctuations of the projection were still there. Yi Qinghan still had not found the golden immortal who used the projection law. He also did not expect to find him. Even if he did, it would be useless. Yi Qinghan glanced around and looked into the distance. There were no assassins or experts approaching. Not long after, there was a knock on the door. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and opened the door. Two servants came in with 2 buckets of hot water. Yi Qinghan casually threw 10,000 immortal coins to the 2 servants and said indifferently, "Prepare some meat with sufficient blood and qi for me. I'll reward you with the rest." "Thank you, esteemed guest." The 2 servants did not change their expressions. They bowed slightly and closed the door. Yi Qinghan stared at the 2's expressions as they retreated. His lips curled into a smile as he thought to himself, "There is indeed something wrong with this inn. Those 2 are eternal heaven immortals. They can't be considered true experts, but they are definitely not weak. They shouldn't be servants in this small tribe." Now that they saw such a huge reward, their expressions didn't change at all. It seems they don't lack money at all. After some consideration, Yi Qinghan closed the window tightly and used the law to hide the surrounding profound mysteries. Even if the golden immortal wanted to cast a projection, he would not be able to enter the room. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan took off his blood-stained clothes and checked the hot water. After confirming that there was no problem, he washed himself thoroughly in the hot water. The sticky blood on his body was emitting a strange smell. This smell could expose his position. The sticky blood would even affect his movements. Even if it was just a tiny bit, it was enough to be fatal. The hot water in the first bucket had turned blood red, and a strange smell permeated the air. Yi Qinghan entered the second bucket and washed himself again. Then, he got up and changed into a set of battle clothes. This was a set of battle clothes given to him by Li Peiza. Its grade was quite good. Ordinary heaven immortal experts would not be able to break through it. Spirit Tamer battle clothes. Mid-tier mystic immortal realm. It had an immortal rune defensive array inside. It could block 70% of an attack from a beginner mystic immortal realm expert. It came from the weapon refining immortal sect. It was produced in very small quantities and was priceless. Moreover, it was priceless. Basically, one could only buy it through connections. After Yi Qinghan dripped his blood to claim ownership, all the information about the Spirit Tamer battle clothes was transmitted to his mind. The purplish-black battle clothes added to his aura. Creak, Yi Qinghan opened the windows of his room and dispersed all the aura in the room. Then, he laid on his bed and looked at the map silently, planning his next move. Downstairs, a few adventurers looked at each other and nodded to the two servants. Their aura did not fluctuate at all. Then, they knocked on the door of the backyard. "I will kill him. You guys prevent him from escaping." Right at this moment, a young man walked out from the backyard on the first floor. His white battle robe was fluttering in the wind. There were 3 words embroidered on his shoulder: 9 Murders King. It was as though the words were alive and wanted to rush out from his immortal robe to kill without leaving a trace. He was from the 9 Murders sect. However, the others did not have the words 9 Murders on their shoulders, let alone the words 9 Murders King. The 9 Murders sect had 2 King Realm Supreme Assassins: the King of the Lower 9 Gates, 9 Murders King, and the King of the Upper 9 Gates, Yang Feiwu. Yang Feiwu was assigned to the last checkpoint. Who would have thought that the King of the Lower 9 Gates, 9 Murders King, would be assigned to the 3rd checkpoint? It seemed like the 9 Murders sect wanted to get rid of Yi Qinghan as soon as possible. Several adventurers and servants bowed respectfully, and then left the room. They stuck close to the house and surrounded it in all directions. The 9 Murders King silently went up to the 2nd floor without leaking any killing aura. Or rather, there was no killing aura on him at all. There wasn't even the aura of a human. His concealment technique was definitely better than Yan Yunbei's. If they were at the same level, he would be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with Yan Yunbei. The 9 Murders King took out an eerie fang from his bosom. It looked like a wolf's fang, but it was longer and sharper. The 2 sides of the fang were sharpened into a blade. The 2 sides of the blade had turned from white to black. It was obvious that it was filled with a deadly poison that would kill the victim the moment it touched the blood. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was in deep thought with his eyes closed. He did not notice the 9 Murders King's approach. Chapter 2438. The 9 Kills King was a king of the younger generation of the Lower 9 Gate. Yang Feiwu was a paragon of the Upper 9 Gate. The 9 Kills King was ranked 11th in the Northern Divine Region's Heaven ranking, while Yang Feiwu was ranked 6th. Both of them had yet to display their peak combat strength, but one could tell that there was still a gap between them. However, being ranked 11th in the Heaven ranking was enough to show the 9 Kills King's strength. He was already close to Yi Qinghan's room, but Yi Qinghan didn't sense any danger. Creak. The 9 Kills King didn't enter Yi Qinghan's room. Instead, he went to the room next door. The sound of the door opening woke Yi Qinghan up. His eyes flashed as he looked at the door. His ears twitched as he tried to determine the direction of the sound. He realized that there was no sound in the surroundings. What? Yi Qinghan was startled and sat up. He circulated his soul spirit, but he still couldn't hear anything. What a powerful cultivation technique. No sound on the ground and no trace on the snow. He's either a mystic immortal or a paragon of the younger generation. Yi Qinghan slowly left the bed and stared at both sides of the room. He didn't even know if that person had entered the room on the left or the right. What? Yi Qinghan slowly drew out his Tengu saber and focused on the side of the bed. If I were to assassinate him, I would definitely choose the room next to the bed. However, he made a mistake by opening the door and hiding himself, which made me more vigilant. If it were me, I would definitely be unscrupulous and not suspect anything. Yi Qinghan muttered to himself. Even the 9 Kills King didn't know that the reason for his failure was because he was too strong and too cautious. One was prepared while the other wasn't. Yi Qinghan was waiting for the 9 Kills King to come in. What awaited him was a thunderous saber strike. No matter how strong the 9 Kills King was, he would be severely injured even if he didn't die. In the room on the right, the 9 Kills King gently swiped his hand. The immortal runes on his venomous fangs were enveloped in immortal light. The black saber edge looked even gloomier as it emitted a sharp fluctuation. It was because of this fluctuation that Yi Qinghan was able to determine the location of the Nine Kills King. The Nine Kills King took a deep breath and exhaled. He had already measured the position of Yi Qinghan and was accurate to the inch. Boom, whoosh! The Nine Kills King's thunderous strike directly broke through the wooden wall. His body rushed out from the wall, and a powerful force covered the entire bed. If Yi Qinghan was not prepared, this poisonous fang would have pierced his heart. Unfortunately, Yi Qinghan was already prepared. Roar! Boom! With a flash of saber light, Yi Qinghan stomped his foot, shattering the entire inn. His long saber swept out like a bolt of lightning, striking the Nine Kills King's body almost indiscriminately. Whoosh! The Nine Kills King didn't expect that he would deliver himself to Yi Shiwen's doorstep. His defense erupted and the immortal robe on his body released immortal runes, forcibly blocking the blade. However, the terrifying force still managed to pierce through the immortal robe and into his body. Poof! The Nine Kills King spurted out a mouthful of blood essence, and his vision turned black as he smashed out through the window. Bang! Yi Qinghan followed up with a kick, once again striking the Nine Kills King who was flying backward. Die for me! Yi Qinghan kicked the Nine Kills King down the stairs. With a flash of light, he didn't expect the Nine Kills King's defensive immortal robe to be so powerful. His peak saber strike actually couldn't break through the defense. Yi Qinghan could only gather his strength once again, holding the saber hilt with both hands and ruthlessly thrusting down. The tip of the saber went straight for the Nine Kills King's head. The Nine Kills King's guts were about to burst. He waved his arm to block, and it just so happened that his arm collided with the tip of the Tengu horizontal saber. Gotcha! Although the endless saber chi and the profoundness of the saber were blocked by the Nine Kills King's robe, the terrifying physical attack directly broke the bones of the Nine Kills King's elbow. Roar! The Nine Kills King's handsome face twisted malevolently. His long legs kicked upwards, aiming for Yi Qinghan's back. Bang! Yi Qinghan stepped on the waist of the Nine Kills King and soared into the sky. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Bang! 6 attacks streaked across Yi Qinghan's surroundings, missing him by a hair's breadth, allowing him to easily dodge them. It was the 2 servants and the 4 adventurers. However, these people were all in disguise, and their cultivation bases were also suppressed. Now that they burst out with their full strength, their destructive power was definitely much stronger than those people from before. Zing, zing, zing! Yi Qinghan retreated dozens of steps, maintaining a safe distance from this group of people. He looked at the Nine Kills King and the others with vigilance. The Nine Kills King wasn't weak, but he miscalculated and took half a step, causing him to be in such a sorry state. F***ck. He still isn't dead. In the main hall of the Big Brother Mountain, the Extreme Emperor snorted and cursed unwillingly. After all, this sentence was worth 8 billion immortal coins. If Yi Qinghan didn't die, these 8 billion immortal coins would belong to Zhang Fan. Zhang Fan smiled and looked at Miao Zun confidently, as if saying, "Look, my eyesight is not bad, right?" Miao Zun shook his head. He also recognized the Nine Kills King and thought to himself, no wonder the Extreme Emperor is willing to bet 8 billion immortal coins. It turns out that there are a few experts hidden in this tribe. Even the Nine Kills King from the lower 9 gates is here. The others were indifferent and just watched calmly. This was the mentality of the big shot. It was just a game. Unless they reached an exciting part, they would feel excited. The Nine Kills King was only ranked 11th on the Heaven leaderboard of the Northern Divine region. It would only be interesting if Yang Feiwu was here personally. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan slowly changed his posture. He held his blade with both hands and stared at the 7 people in front of him. 4 adventurers, 2 servants, and 1 9 kills king. They were all closing in. This bustling street was filled with cracks, and sword marks tore the stone floor. They didn't care about the safety of the people in the tribe. Yi Qinghan knew that if they continued to kill here, the entire tribe would be annihilated. Yi Qinghan said calmly, "Everyone, this is the tribe. It's not very good for you to choose to attack here." The 9 kills king's face turned pale. He didn't expect to suffer a loss right after he attacked. The bones in his hand were broken, but it was just a physical attack. He quickly recovered by 80 to 90%. Ka. The 9 kills king swung his arm and his bones cracked. The poisonous dagger in his hand was even more dazzling under the sunlight. Yi Qinghan and the 9 kills king looked at each other. He didn't know who the 9 kills king was, and he didn't even know his ranking in the North Divine region. However, he didn't want to ask at this moment. He twisted the stone floor with the tip of his foot. He glanced at the 2 servants and the 4 adventurers. A cold light flashed, and killing intent shot out in all directions. A powerful force rushed into the clouds. Swish, 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 swish. Yi Qinghan slashed 9 times consecutively, and each slash was fatal. In the blink of an eye, 7 people were blasted away. His speed was as fast as lightning, and he focused on killing one of the servants, preparing to kill them one by one. That servant's defense was extremely good. After taking a few slashes head-on, the web between his thumb and index finger was numb. He was forced to retreat by Yi Qinghan, and his speed couldn't keep up with Yi Qinghan's. His immortal sword was suppressed by Tonggu's saber, and Yi Qinghan's fist broke through the void, striking his neck from the left. Gotcha! That servant's neck was broken by this punch. Ah! That servant screamed and wanted to ask for help. Unfortunately, Yi Qinghan didn't give him the chance. He kicked his leg, and his knee struck the servant's throat, sending him flying dozens of meters away. His head was smashed, and his immortal body's vitality was extinguished. Only his soul escaped. It was too fast, and the others didn't have the chance to come to his rescue. 7-1. Chapter 2439. 2 chapters combined into one, which is equivalent to 4 chapters today. I'm not going to update anymore. I realize that I'll be scolded every time I don't update. However, I'll always be scolded whenever I have the time. In the central area of the tribe, 9 kills king saw Yi Qinghan's strength clearly and no longer underestimated him. He gathered his battle intent and his aura rose. Whoosh! With a flash of light, 9 kills king disappeared from the street. He hid himself so well that there wasn't even a trace of airflow. Gusts of wind blew past. Only the remaining 5 experts still had killing intent. They were in charge of restraining Yi Qinghan and giving 9 kills king a chance to kill him. Whoosh! The corners of Yi Qinghan's mouth curled up into a cold smile. He stomped on the ground and his figure flickered. He wanted to leave the tribe before erupting. However, the 5 experts held him down tightly, not giving him a chance to escape. They didn't care about the creatures in the tribe at all. Leave the tribe quickly. Yi Qinghan circulated his qi and shouted. His voice was as mighty as a bell and rushed in all directions. You're on your own. You still want to care about the lives of others. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The 5 experts formed a 5-pointed star and surrounded Yi Qinghan in the center. They spun continuously and sword qi filled the air. The sharp sword light could even cut the void. Clang clang clang. Dozens of ear-piercing sounds swept out and tore the eardrums. Yi Qinghan was even faster. He chose a place to break through. His saber technique was sharp and his strength reached the limit. Every time his saber hit the immortal weapon of his opponent, it would cause his opponent's hand to go numb and turn into a bloody mess. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The five elements transference technique of the Immortal sect was originally the trashiest profound immortal level immortal technique. However, under Yi Qinghan's feet it was actually so profound. Every step he took was incomparably precise, and he constantly changed his position, causing the five elements formation to rapidly fall into chaos. 90% of the people in the undying, immortal realm wanted Yi Qinghan to die here. However, the one who didn't want Yi Qinghan to die the most wasn't the eccentric sect or Xianyuan Qingyun, but Xikong Tanlang, Xikong City. Xikong Tanlang stared at the projection, watching Yi Qinghan use his secret technique. It was actually 30% stronger than him. He couldn't wait for Yi Qinghan to display all of his Xian immortal profound mysteries and then teach him how to integrate them, erase the flaws, and let him leave the trash team. Come on. Kill them. Use the star-plucking hand. Sacred annihilation finger. Quickly use the immortal sect's five elements golden bell shield. Fuse with them. Xikong Tanlang roared. His eyes were fixed on Yi Qinghan, afraid that he would miss a single detail. He was so nervous that his veins were bulging. It was as if he had brought himself into the battle. Swish, swish, swish. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Xikong Tanlang moved slowly and quickly on the city wall, cultivating according to Yi Qinghan's steps and move. Yi Qinghan didn't disappoint him. After all, he didn't have a particularly good Xian immortal profound cultivation technique for him to use. The void crack consumed too much energy. He didn't want to waste 70% or 80% of his energy on these trash. Boom! Yi Qinghan's saber swept across the sky, disrupting the five stars formation. His figure flashed as he escaped from the encirclement. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw that most of the tribesmen had already escaped. Only a few people were still reckless, so he didn't want to care about them anymore. Plucking the stars to form a sword, exterminating the immortal soul from 1,000 miles away. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan made a grabbing motion in the air. The immortal spiritual energy in the air went berserk and swarmed towards him. The entire structure of the tribe was grabbed by him. Using the Tonggu blade as the foundation, the entire structure was transformed into a towering giant sword. Whoosh, boom! The immortal sword pierced through the void and shattered mountains and rivers, stabbing directly at the five experts. Bang! The five experts were shocked. Yi Qinghan's attack range was too wide. They could only take it head-on. The energy in their bodies was instantly depleted. They attacked the giant sword together. Bam bam bam! Bang! The giant sword was merciless. It shattered everything and sent the five experts flying. The power of immortal extermination swept out for dozens of miles. The tribe was razed to the ground. The five assassins lost control of their bodies and were annihilated in the storm. Whoosh! Just as Yi Qinghan formed the immortal sword and destroyed the five experts, the 9 Kills King, who was hiding in the dark, moved. He drilled through the void like a poisonous dragon and stirred up space-time. The immortal spiritual energy between heaven and earth filled the space-time. In the blink of an eye, he arrived behind Yi Qinghan. A cold gust of wind swept past Yi Qinghan's neck. Even the wind was poisonous. Once hit, death was certain. The arrival of death forced Yi Qinghan to erupt again. Immortal sect 5 elements, golden bell shield. Whoosh! Boom! A giant golden bell shield formed around Yi Qinghan. Immortal light soared into the sky. The power of the 5 elements surged. It was like a space-time tunnel. No one could break through the barrier and rush in. Immortal runes were engraved all over the golden bell shield. Every part of it had an endless defense. This defense was Yi Qinghan's masterpiece. Boom! Bang! The 9 Kills King slammed his poisonous Fang dagger against the immortal gate's 5 elements golden bell canopy. 2 terrifying forces collided and soared into the galaxy. The entire tribe disappeared completely. Those who stayed behind to watch the show were all dead. Not even their bones remained. The terrifying aftershock even affected the tribesmen who fled to the periphery. Hundreds of people died. Even the children were killed. Even the adults couldn't escape. Disaster. To the super experts of the immortal world, it was like a bunch of ants had died. The powerful attack could destroy a peak immortal realm expert, but it couldn't shake Yi Qinghan's defense. Yi Qinghan spat out a mouthful of blood. The 9 Kills King was ranked 11th on the Northern Divine Region's Heaven leaderboard. Bam! 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 Yi Qinghan rushed forward for dozens of meters. The golden bell shield on his body was shattered. However, the 9 Kills King's attack was exhausted. If he wanted to kill Yi Qinghan again, he would need to gather more energy. Whoosh! The Tonggu blade in Yi Qinghan's hand trembled. He looked at the 9 Kills King coldly and said, "Without your assistant, let's see how good your assassination skills are." The 9 Kills King snorted and said arrogantly, "I'm the 11th on the Northern Divine Region's Heaven leaderboard. Do I need help to kill you? You're lucky this time. Let's see how you're going to dodge next time." "There won't be a next time," Yi Qinghan said calmly. He slowly stepped forward and said calmly, "From today onwards, there will be no more 9 Kills King in the 9 Kills sect. When I reach the final stage, the Feiwu King of the 9 Kills sect will accompany you." Whoosh! His aura was rising. When enemies meet on a narrow path, the courageous would win. Both of them had the same cultivation realm and battle power. However, Yi Qinghan was better at killing. Yi Qinghan didn't have any flashy moves. He only had an impact that would make his enemies feel like their guts were about to explode. Boom! The ground cracked. Mountains and rivers moved up and down. The surrounding space was clearly distorted. The law of projection had perfectly projected this scene to every corner of the immortal world. All the young experts were watching the battle between Yi Qinghan and the 9 Kills King. It was a battle that was rarely seen in 100 years. The experts on the heaven ranking were basically kings who never saw kings. Once they encountered each other, they would definitely fight until the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. Boom! Yi Qinghan started to attack. With a slash of his blade, cracks appeared in the space. Swish! 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 9 slashes. His footsteps were precise. Every step would shatter the ground, forcing the 9 Kills King to retreat a dozen steps. Whoosh! Whoosh! 5 elements escape. With a low bellow, the 9 Kills King disappeared from sight. Even his aura had disappeared. Yi Qinghan sneered. This concealment technique was indeed powerful. However, the 9 Kills King might not know that he had the 5 elements lightning beast. Moreover, he had the 5 elements balance. All the 5 elements in the world were under his control. Under the same cultivation realm, no one could contend against him. Boom! Yi Qinghan slashed down, turning the originally bustling street into ruins. This slash even tore open the main road. The slash landed on the 9 Kills King's back and forced him out of the ground. Humph! The 9 Kills King snorted and hid in the void again. Roar! Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and turned into a dragon. A dragon roar shattered the space and forced the 9 Kills King out of the void. Insignificant tricks! How dare you show off in front of me? Boom! Without the concealment technique, the advantage of an assassin disappeared. The 9 Kills King had faced the wrong person. He couldn't surpass Yi Qinghan in close combat. Whoosh! The divine dragon swung its tail and blasted the 9 Kills King away. Swoosh! Yi Qinghan's figure flashed and turned back into his original body. He held the long saber in his hand and turned into a sharp arrow that shot towards the 9 Kills King. Swoosh! 9 consecutive slashes. The 9 slashes chain saber wrapped around the 9 Kills King. Each slash contained the power to kill a complete cycle immortal. The 9 Kills King didn't even have the strength to raise his hand. The fact that Yi Qinghan, who was ranked 11th on the heaven leaderboard of the Northern Divine Region, didn't even have the strength to fight back. This shocked all the experts on the heaven leaderboard of the Northern Divine Region, especially those in the top 10. Bang! Yi Qinghan blasted the poisonous short saber away from the 9 Kills King's hand and slashed 18 times. Each slash landed on the 9 Kills King's chest. Unfortunately, the mystic immortal battle armor was too strong and couldn't be broken. The profound mysteries couldn't penetrate the 9 Kills King's body. Boom! Yi Qinghan stabbed his saber into the ground. He no longer used immortal techniques to attack. Instead, he used his fists and legs. Bang bang bang! Boom! Yi Qinghan was like a wild beast. He displayed his physical strength and punched the 9 Kills King's head and chest. The mystic immortal battle armor could block immortal techniques, but it couldn't block physical attacks. The 9 Kills King's face was distorted. His mouth was full of blood. His body curled up and he blocked with both hands, hoping to relieve the pain. However, his speed couldn't match Yi Qinghan's. His arms weren't tough enough either. They were broken by Yi Qinghan. The sound of bones breaking was ear-piercing. Yi Qinghan demonstrated the power of physical strength. He displayed his dominance to the extreme. The visual impact was so dazzling that it blinded everyone. The immortal world respected immortal technique. At this moment, everyone was wondering if one could reach the pinnacle of physical strength after reaching the limit. Even golden immortals had to be wary of him. Boom! Yi Qinghan's last few kicks made the 9 Kills King limp on the ground. Finally, he stepped on the 9 Kills King's neck and broke it. A powerful force enveloped the 9 Kills King's soul. At this moment, the 9 Kills King was like an ant that could be slaughtered. Yi Qinghan, you will regret this. The 9 Kills King's soul roared. Yi Qinghan shook his head. He bent down and took the 9 Kills King's immortal ring. He said indifferently, I have never regretted this. Look at this tribe. It was a paradise half a day ago. Now, it has been destroyed by you. Do you regret it? Obviously not. Just like me now, I naturally won't regret killing you. Boom! Yi Qinghan waved his hand and sent out a palm strike, directly shattering the 9 Kills King's soul. A king of a generation had fallen. There was no longer a 9 Kills King in the lower 9 gate. Yi Qinghan quickly removed the mystic immortal battle armor on the 9 Kills King's body. This was a good item. He couldn't break through the defense after so many attempts. It would be a pity to waste it. After taking the mystic immortal battle armor, Yi Qinghan left the corpse of the 9 Kills King and stepped into the distance. Chapter 2440. On the Big Brother Mountain, Ji Huang's face turned purple. Not only did he lose 8 billion immortal coins, but all the kings of the lower 9 gates were dead. Zhang Fan smiled and didn't push his luck. After taking Ji Huang's 8 billion immortal coins, he waited for Yi Qinghan to continue. In the undying, immortal world, there were people cheering and people cursing. This battle made many people bankrupt. The 9 Kills King died just like that. Many people roared in anger. After the third gate, Yi Qinghan started to charge crazily. He directly used his ultimate skills to launch a sneak attack and annihilated several mystic immortal experts in the fourth gate. He swept all the way to the fifth gate. The fifth gate was a small gate. There weren't many experts, and they were all perfectly dealt with by Yi Qinghan. The sixth gate was also a small gate. Yi Qinghan didn't slow down. He increased his pace and destroyed the sixth gate's defense. He took over the sixth gate and rested there. In just a few days, he broke through the sixth gate. His speed wasn't slow, but the consumption was huge. At this moment, his face was pale. The energy in his body was exhausted, but he was still stuck at the bottleneck of the mystic immortal realm. He couldn't break through. The sixth gate was too powerful. Finally, the gamblers were no longer stupid. Even if the seventh gate was a big gate and the enemies were strong, there were still many gamblers who took the risk and bet that Yi Qinghan could survive. In a small hill, Yi Qinghan was lying on the grass at the foot of the hill. Blood flowed from his arm to his palm. Although the fifth and sixth gates were small gates, there were still mystic immortal expert. The injury on his arm was caused by those mystic immortal expert. Yi Qinghan squinted his eyes and swallowed a healing immortal pill. He tightened his arms and sealed the blood vessels. The injury on his arm quickly scabbed over. Yi Qinghan heaved a sigh of relief. His face gradually regained some color. He opened the map and looked at the location of the seventh gate. He couldn't help but feel a little scared. The seventh trial is a major trial, and it's actually set up in a place like the Northern Divine Canyon that's easy to defend but hard to attack. It's surrounded by sheer cliffs and precipitous cliffs, and this canyon is the only way out. There are also 4 early-stage mystic, immortal realm experts, and I don't know how many hidden assassins there are. It'll be very difficult to force our way through this trial. Yi Qinghan frowned in thought. He looked around at the Grand Canyon of the North God. There wasn't even a single path that led through the canyon. It was a desolate mountain range, surrounded by endless fog. It was impossible to tell how deep it went, or how many powerful beasts might be lurking within. Looks like we'll have to deviate from the route this time, go around the Northern God Canyon, and then return to the route. Yi Qinghan drew an arc on the map, which just so happened to go around the Northern God Canyon, which was a mountain range. Yi Qinghan muttered to himself, even if there's an expert at the mid-stage of the mysterious immortal realm or above staring at me within the mountain range, he might not be able to capture me. He can only use the divine bird's bracelet to obstruct me. After resting for about a day, Yi Qinghan set out again and began to slowly deviate from his route. On the mountain, no one had expected that they would take the initiative to deviate from the route and walk into the depths of the mountain. Actually, when Yi Qinghan deviated from his route, a figure had quietly appeared. However, the figure didn't attack immediately. Instead, it waited for Yi Qinghan to be far away from the route before attacking. This was the best opportunity to kill Yi Qinghan. The difference between the low stage of the mysterious immortal realm and the mid-stage of the mysterious immortal realm was extremely huge. Yi Qinghan could fight against a low-stage mysterious immortal realm expert, but against a mid-stage expert like Shuiren Feng or the Widow Ju, he didn't even have the ability to resist. Swish! The figure flashed from afar, observing Yi Qinghan from afar, waiting for an opportunity to attack. It was another expert from the 9 Kills sect, and his concealment technique was superb. Yi Qinghan didn't discover this person and only focused on quickly entering the mountain range. As long as he entered the mountain range, it would be easy to shake off the assassin hiding in the dark. Yi Qinghan was extremely vigilant. He glanced around and saw the ancient trees in front of him. With a flash of light, he pulled out his Tengu saber and quickly rushed in. Once he entered the ancient forest, Yi Qinghan quickly controlled the 5 elements and disappeared into the forest. After a few teleportations, he completely disappeared. The mid-stage mysterious immortal assassin who was tailing Yi Qinghan couldn't help but be stunned when he entered the forest. As one of the 9 elders of the 9 Kills sect, he actually let a perfect stage sky immortal realm rookie disappear right under his nose. Chirp 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 chirp, the ethereal sound of birds echoed in the mountain range. The blue sky and white clouds were very low, but the space in the thorny forest was very dark. The leaves covered the sky, and only a few rays of sunlight shone through. Rustle, rustle, rustle! Yi Qinghan increased his speed and rushed forward. The Tengu saber in his hand constantly chopped off the thorns. Like an agile monkey, he moved more than 10 meters away from the 9 Kills sect's elder, who was still searching for Yi Qinghan's traces. However, Yi Qinghan didn't escape from the golden immortal realm's law of projection. He was still projected and broadcasted. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and madly rushed forward. As long as he went around the northern God Canyon and returned to the route, he would be safe for a short period of time. After rushing past several ancient mountain peaks, a tall bridge appeared in front of him. It was a natural bridge, and under the bridge was a passage. On the right side of the passage was a deep abyss, and there was a waterfall above it. After going around the abyss, a huge cave appeared in front of him. Yi Qinghan didn't even hesitate and went in. The cave was originally 30 to 50 meters high, but it became smaller and darker as he went in. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan controlled the fire element to illuminate his surroundings and went deeper. However, after walking for about half a day, there wasn't even any immortal spiritual energy or the five elements. He could only move forward in the dark. In the end, he had no choice but to pull the divine bird out and use the bracelet to illuminate the deep passage. Some passages were short and he could only crawl. Huff huff huff, Yi Qinghan's breathing was a little hurried. When he passed by a bigger passage, he looked back and grinned. This damn live projection. Looks like I've shaken it off. The passage echoed for a while. It should have been quiet, but suddenly, a voice almost made Yi Qinghan explode. Is that so? F***CK. What the hell? Why aren't you revealing yourself? The divine bird shouted and grabbed Yi Qinghan to look deeper. Whoosh! A white figure appeared in front of him. The powerful golden immortal realm mysteries illuminated the entire passage. Yi Qinghan still couldn't escape the live projection. He had shaken off the 9 kills sex elder, but he couldn't shake off this golden immortal. This is my original form. How am I going to reveal myself? The white figure was facing the light, but his face couldn't be seen clearly. However, from his figure, he should be a middle-aged man. Ghost! The divine bird shrieked in fright, shaking the passageway until it made a rustling sound. Fine sand and pebbles continuously fell from the sky. Smack! Yi Qinghan slapped its head and scolded, "Ghost your head! Shut up!" The divine bird curled its lips and looked at the golden immortal with its head tilted. It asked curiously, "Boss, do you have nothing better to do? Why are you following us?" The golden immortal's expression didn't change. He replied calmly, "It's my duty. I advise you not to think of shaking me off. It's not too late to have such thoughts when you've cultivated to the golden immortal realm. Also, I advise you to return to the path immediately after you leave the cave. Otherwise, you're dead." Yi Qinghan shrugged and asked, "Senior, can we walk out of this passage?" The golden immortal glanced coldly at Yi Qinghan and asked, "You don't know if you can leave, but you still dare to go in?" Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly and answered truthfully, "I just want to shake you and the 9 kills sex assassins off and leave the North Divine region. Whether it works or not, I have to try. After all, according to the path, I definitely won't be able to leave the North Divine region alive." Chapter 2441. Yi Qinghan spoke the truth, which earned the praise of the big boss. At least you know your limits. This killing game has been played more than 200 times. For now, no one has managed to complete the game alive. Even if you break through to the mystic immortal level, it will still be the same. Only death awaits you. The golden immortal big boss said calmly. Yi Qinghan pursed his lips and said firmly, "That's not necessarily true. I might be the first person to complete the game alive." In the narrow cave, the space was sometimes much bigger, and sometimes it was so small that even a person could not enter. However, this was not a problem for the immortal golden immortal. Instead, Yi Qinghan got himself into trouble. The golden immortal big boss of the martial arts recording system did not comment on Yi Qinghan's confident words. He only said calmly, "Whether you can get out of here alive, let's wait and see. Also, I bet that you will die in the last 3 stages." Don't disappoint me. Haha, Yi Qinghan smiled awkwardly and looked up to ask, how many celestial coins did you bet on me? Also, is the projection still going? Of course. The projection cannot be interrupted, otherwise it will be suspected of cheating. As for how much you bet, there is no need to know. The golden immortal big boss said coldly. Yi Qinghan scratched his head and smiled. You still haven't told me if this path can be taken out. Yes. Whoosh. The golden immortal big boss said, and then disappeared without a trace. Yi Qinghan shrugged and led the divine bird along the way. They followed the faint light for more than 10 days. With Yi Qinghan and the divine bird's speed, even if they were in the cave, they could run a few thousand miles in more than 10 days. However, at this moment, the airflow in the cave had obviously increased. This meant that they were very close to the exit. Phew, Yi Qinghan heaved a sigh of relief and said to the divine bird, when we reach the exit, immediately rush out. Go as fast as you can to prevent anyone from blocking us. Alright. How dare he sneak attack me? I'll make him come standing and leave lying down. The divine bird said arrogantly. Whoosh. Woo. The airflow in the cave became stronger again, and the strong wind echoed in their ears. A ray of light shone in from the front. Yi Qinghan and the divine bird kept their eyes and ears open. As they approached the exit of the cave, they saw a cliff in front of them. A few hundred meters away from the cave was a small mountain. The distance between the cave entrance and the short mountain is about 1,000 meters, and the height difference is more than 300 meters. With my speed and my sliding speed, I have a 90% chance of making it. Yi Qinghan's eyes shone brightly as he clenched his fists. His legs shook the cave as he began to accelerate forward. As for the divine bird, he wasn't worried at all. His true form was a divine bird. Even if he couldn't jump over, he could fly over. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan rushed to the entrance of the cave and stomped down the cliff. His body was like a rock spreading its wings. He directly jumped down the cliff and rushed towards the short mountain opposite. Whoosh! I can fly! Whoosh! The divine bird did not transform into its true form. A pair of white wings appeared on its back, and in the blink of an eye, it rushed to Yi Qinghan's side. Woo woo woo! The strong wind blew against Yi Qinghan's face, causing his black hair to fly wildly. His body tensed up and slightly arched as he prepared to receive the impact. There was no sneak attack, but even if there was no sneak attack, he still had to do it. This was because if he wanted to enter the route, he had to pass through this mountain and continue heading southeast to return to his original route. Yi Qinghan's jump caused the hearts of countless people below the mystic immortal realm to rise to their throat. Absolutely no one at the heavenly immortal realm would dare to do such a crazy thing. There were also not many people on the heaven rankings who would dare to do such a thing. This was completely an extreme sport. 5 elements control wind mystery. Whoosh! A gust of wind swept past and supported Yi Qinghan's feet, helping him block 50% of the impact. Whoosh! Whoosh! When Yi Qinghan was about 10 meters away from the top of the hill, he tapped the ground with his toes and somersaulted in the air. With his legs facing downwards, he landed right on the top of the hill. After a few rolls to reduce the impact, the rocks on the top of the hill were all shattered by him. Perfect! Yi Qinghan stood up calmly and muttered to himself. He turned his head to look at the divine bird, who was much more relaxed than him. It did not have the slightest bit of flashy movements, nor did it use any profound recoil. It only relied on a pair of wings to stop. This sovereign is blessed by the heavens. Sigh, I let the heavens share the rain and dew, but he only dotes on me. He dotes on me and gives me all the benefits, but the unlucky one is always you. Maybe it's because you met me in this life that you used up all your good luck. This can also prove that this sovereign is indeed blessed by the heavens. Extraordinary, extraordinary, the divine bird said proudly. Yi Qinghan opened his mouth to refute, but he actually could not find the words to refute. This guy's luck had always been better than his. On the contrary, he was always the unlucky one. Don't be arrogant. Take advantage of the fact that the experts from the 9 Kills sect and Ultimate Peak Mountain have not surrounded us yet, and quickly return to the route. Yi Qinghan let out a muffled groan and looked at the map. Looking towards the southeast, he immediately sped up and ran all the way to the foot of the mountain, where he entered a hilly area. Whoosh! The divine bird and Yi Qinghan rushed into the distance like lightning in the hilly area. At this moment, there were at least 5 mid-level mystic immortal experts rushing from all directions. All of them wanted to kill Yi Qinghan before he left the route. Whoosh! 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 Yi Qinghan kept the divine bird and retracted his aura. He entered the dense forest and jumped dozens of meters away. Now, other than the golden immortal experts who could catch up to him, those experts who were chasing after him did not know his exact location. Half a day later, the route was right in front of him, but the group of experts had already caught up. Yi Qinghan was practically gritting his teeth as he ran through the mountains with all his might. However, his speed was obviously not as fast as them, and the veins on his forehead were popping out. If you don't speed up, it seems like you won't even be able to pass the 8th stage. A cold voice sounded in Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. It was the reminder of that golden immortal expert. Boom! Whoosh! Several sword chi slashed through the air, shattering the void and destroying everything in its path. Bang! Yi Qinghan hurriedly rolled in the valley and dodged the fatal sword chi. There was still half an incense stick's worth of time before he reached the route. Boom! Whoosh! Whoosh! Several sword chi flashed past his head and a few strands of his hair were cut off. The crisis of death was approaching. 4 mid-level mystic immortal experts surrounded him from all directions. However, they were still hundreds of miles away and could only attack from afar. Damn! Yi Qinghan's forehead was covered in cold sweat, and his legs had almost turned to jelly. He dashed out a few hundred meters in a single stride. The pressure of death had caused him to explode with the passion of speed. He kept on moving, and a pair of wings of wind slowly condensed on his back. They looked a bit like the wings of a divine bird, but divine birds were immortal birds, so they were very sensitive to wings. Whoosh! The wind wings on Yi Qinghan's back allowed him to soar into the sky and dive down. In the blink of an eye, he had reached the route. The 7th stage was supposed to be a sure kill stage, but Yi Qinghan managed to bypass it. Boom! Several sword chi tore through space and chased closely after Yi Qinghan into the route. Bang! Whoosh! Several rays of light with the profound mysteries of the golden immortal dispersed the sword chi. The bodies of the 4 mid-level mystic immortals flew back in the air and crashed heavily on the ground. Chapter 2442. At the edge of the path, Yi Qinghan arrogantly glared at the 4 experts with a grin on his face. This greatly infuriated the 4 experts. Fortunately, Yi Qinghan did not release the divine bird. Otherwise, the 4 of them would be angered to death. Yi Qinghan looked at the 4 sinister mystic immortal experts and whistled. He waved his hand and said, "You don't have to send me off. I won't leave the route in the future. So, go where you need to go." Whoosh! Yi Qinghan turned and left after provoking the 4 of them. The people from Extreme Peak Mountain and 9 Kills sect were infuriated. In such a cruel game, Yi Qinghan had actually fooled them. It was just a spice in a game of death. Yi Qinghan had only taken the initiative to tease the 9 Kills sect and Extreme Peak Mountain because he was too angry. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan increased his speed and quickly approached the 8th stage. Although the 8th stage was a small stage, it was located in a dangerous place. Juetian Ridge was one of the 10 dangerous places in the northern Divine region. It spanned 8,000 miles and was 10,000 miles deep. There were countless ferocious beasts and immortal birds, and many natural treasures. Logically speaking, this place was indeed not suitable for fighting. However, golden immortals wanted excitement, so they set up the 8th stage here. Yi Qinghan was not familiar with Juetian Ridge. He only knew that it was a dangerous place. There were only so many markings on the map, and the hint was that it was a small stage. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan waved his hand and summoned the divine bird. He pointed at the 8th stage on the map and said, "Juetian Ridge is a dangerous place. There are many treasures in it. I'll have to rely on you this time. Take something with you before you leave." The divine bird tilted its head and sniffed. "Leave it to me, Supreme Yi. I guarantee that there will be no treasures in Juetian Ridge in the future." Yi Qinghan curled his lips and mocked. "Ever since you transformed, I've realized that you've become more and more arrogant." Hee, boss, I realized that ever since I transformed, my talent has been increasing day by day, and my cultivation is getting stronger and stronger. I wonder if it's the effect of this bracelet. Supreme Being Yi raised his small hand and smiled proudly. Yi Qinghan smiled. This guy's luck was extraordinarily good. With this bracelet, his path was even smoother. If he could revive the soul in the bracelet, he would become even more arrogant. Several days later, Yi Qinghan rested as he approached Juetian Ridge. Finally, on the 6th day, he arrived at Juetian Ridge. Upon entering Juetian Ridge, Yi Qinghan realized that this trial was not a small one. On the contrary, it was even more dangerous than the 7th trial. There was danger everywhere, and assassins were hiding in the dark. No one could be trusted. Swish, a silhouette flashed past, but it disappeared quickly. It didn't attack at all. Yi Qinghan glanced at it from the corner of his eyes. He guessed that this person was a spy for the assassins. In front of him were dense forests and thorns. Ancient trees covered the sky. It was indeed a suitable place for assassins to hide. If Yan Yunbei was here, he would be like a fish in water. Basically, no one would be able to catch him. Yi Qinghan didn't know that Yan Yunbei had traversed 90,000 miles of the northern divine region in the past few months. He had explored the route in detail, and most of the arrangements had been explored and recorded in detail. He had already arrived at Juetian Ridge. At most, he would be able to find this place in 3 to 5 days. At this moment, Yan Yunbei was shuttling through the most dangerous mountains as if he had a spirit. Even if he was only a few dozen meters away from the ferocious beasts, they couldn't find any trace of him. There was no aura fluctuation on his body. He didn't have any powerful immortal techniques, but he had an unparalleled brain. His techniques were all discovered by himself. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yan Yunbei held a shoddy dagger and kept going deeper. At this moment, he wasn't suitable for fighting. He didn't have any powerful immortal techniques or immortal weapons. He could protect himself, but he was powerless to attack. Whoosh! Yan Yunbei looked at Juetian Ridge and found many assassins. They were all wearing the same clothes. There was no need to guess that they were from the 9 Kills clan. Yan Yunbei secretly killed a low-tier Immortal Heaven Immortal spy and stole his clothes to disguise himself as a member of the 9 Kills clan. He increased his speed and kept going in the direction of Yi Qinghan. Both parties were not slow. Yi Qinghan brought Supremacy Yi and wandered in the mountains. They kept their eyes and ears open. Supremacy Yi kept sniffing and found some good treasures. However, it wasn't enough to make Yi Qinghan excited. Ring! Whoosh! The bracelet on Supremacy Ye's hand suddenly vibrated. It emitted a faint light and took the initiative to drag him forward. "Oh, F***CK, what are you doing?" Supremacy Yi exclaimed. Yi Qinghan was stunned for a moment before he hurriedly followed. After crossing several mountains and traveling for several dozen li, they finally stopped at the foot of a mountain. Supremacy Yi couldn't help but look at the mountain. He swallowed hard and said excitedly, F***CK, a golden immortal level immortal treasure. Whoosh! Supremacy Yi directly transformed into his original form and flew into the sky, straight into the clouds, and landed on the mountain. Whoosh! Phew! Just as the divine bird transformed into Supremacy Yi and pounced to the side of an ancient tree, the golden immortal boss suddenly appeared. He even forgot about the projection. The projection that everyone was paying attention to changed. A tree with more than 10 fiery red fruits appeared. The divine bird reached out and stopped the golden immortal boss. Fire Dragon Golden Pear, a low-grade golden immortal level immortal fruit. The golden immortal boss was as handsome as jade. He was not as old as one would think. He was only in his 20s or 30s and was extremely handsome. The divine bird, Supremacy Yi, glared at the golden immortal boss and roared, "I found this first. Can you act like a boss? This is a live broadcast. Do you want to snatch something from a child in front of all living beings in the immortal world?" The golden immortal stared at Supreme Yi silently. He had yet to notice the bracelet hidden in Supreme Yi's sleeve and asked curiously, "It's so far away. How did you find out that there was a fire dragon golden pear here?" "My talent is extraordinary and I am blessed by the heavens. You can call me Supremacy Yi or the treasure-seeking little divine son." Supremacy Yi patted his chest, then quickly opened his arms to protect the immortal tree, afraid that this golden immortal boss would snatch his treasure. The golden immortal boss said disdainfully, "It's just a dozen golden immortal level immortal fruits. I am Luo Wuhan, the former number 1 on the heaven leaderboard of the immortal world. I won't lower myself to fight with a kid. However, the treasure belongs to the capable. You haven't gotten it yet, so it's not yours." "Wait. There's me too. You should count me in." Yi Qinghan rushed up and said loudly while panting. Luo Wuhan shrugged and did not refute. He said, "No problem, I'll count you in." Yi Qinghan immediately reached out and plucked the ripe fire dragon golden pear. There were a total of 16, and there were still a few that were not ripe yet. "Senior, I'll split it. You don't have any objections, right?" Yi Qinghan grinned. Luo Wuhan did not object and nodded lightly. Yi Qinghan directly sat down and held the 16 fruit. He said, "One for the divine bird, one for me. One for the senior, one for me. One for the divine bird, one for me. One for the senior." Luo Wuhan's eyes widened. He felt like an idiot that had been played by Yi Qinghan. Chapter 2443. On the high mountain, Luo Wuhan and the other big shots had a strong mental state, but at this moment, Yi Qinghan had angered them to the point of dizziness. "Do you believe that my casserole-sized fist can kill hundreds of rookies like you with one punch?" Luo Wuhan said angrily. Yi Qinghan looked at Luo Wuhan with his pure and kind eyes and asked in surprise, "What's wrong with you? Did I not divide it well? How is it good?" Luo Wuhan glared at him. He really wished that he could give up on the live projection and beat up Yi Qinghan first. Yi Qinghan looked at the 3 piles of fire dragon golden pear and said seriously, "Dividing it like this is just right. You see, there's not even one left. Moreover, these fire dragon golden pear were discovered by us first. It's not like you don't know that I still have a little fox immortal, so it's normal for me to take 2. With that, Yi Qinghan pulled out the little fox immortal. It just so happened that he took 2 of the 16 fire dragon golden pears. 4 people, 4 for each person. Luo Wuhan felt that his intelligence had been severely insulted, but at this moment, he was unable to refute. She's also one?" Luo Wuhan almost vomited blood. Looking at the pitiful little fox immortal, he asked in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan immediately asked back, "Didn't you say that those who see it have a share? As juniors, we respect your wishes, is that wrong?" "Ka ka ka." Luo Wuhan clenched his iron fist and said while gnashing his teeth, "Now I can understand why you're being chased by so many forces. You're really cheap." Thank you for letting me win. This Supreme has yet to show my hand. Otherwise, not only would you want to beat us, you would also want to kill us," the divine bird said proudly. Luo Wuhan grinned and said, "I don't believe that you can be more shameless. If you can really do it, I'll choose to divide it according to your method." Hua! The divine bird closed its little hand and collected all the 16 immortal fruit. It sat on the ground and said, "Senior, 1 for me, 1 for Master, 1 for me, 1 for Little Fox Immortal, 1 for me. There are still 4 left. Just right, we each get 1. In this way, the divine bird was given 7, while the others were given 3 each. Luo Wuhan looked at the 3 fruits in front of him. It was 1 less than before. His expression was very interesting. "Sure enough, not only do I want to beat you all up, I also want to kill you all." After a long while, Luo Wuhan said those 2 sentences angrily. "You can't be angry. We were the ones who found the fruit. It's wrong for you to snatch it from the younger generation. Shouldn't you thank us for sharing it with you? Besides, if your grandson finds a delicious fruit and wants to share it with you, you can't say that he didn't share it evenly, right?" The divine bird raised its head and asked curiously. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Luo Wuhan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He really couldn't be bothered to bargain with this guy. He immediately put away the 3 golden immortal grade immortal fruit. Otherwise, there might be another way to split the 3 immortal fruits into 2 later. "Hurry up and get lost. Don't let me see you again," Luo Wuhan angrily reprimanded. Yi Qinghan took advantage of the situation and took away the immortal fruit. He also took away the immortal fruits from Little Fox Immortal. As for the divine bird's fruit, he had already put it away. He was waiting for Yi Qinghan to come and get it. "Senior, we'll go first. If you don't want to see us again, then don't broadcast anymore. Hurry up and go back." Yi Qinghan ran halfway up the mountain and said to Luo Wuhan while waving his hand. Whoosh! Luo Wuhan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He really wanted to slap Yi Qinghan 1,000 miles away. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan took the divine bird and rushed into the distance. In the dense forest, there were many secret agents wandering around. There were also some people who looked like adventurers, but they didn't look like good people. However, they didn't make a move. No one knew that they were hunters on a mission. Yi Qinghan also couldn't casually make a move. The divine bird grinned. This time, he had obtained 13 golden immortal grade immortal fruit. As long as he found an opportunity, the immortal phoenix in the bracelet would be able to recover. Even if it was just her soul, it would still be a golden immortal grade soul. At that time, wouldn't it be invincible? Yi Qinghan didn't need this kind of immortal fruit. He planned to only keep one as a backup and leave the rest for the immortal phoenix in the bracelet to enjoy. He wanted her to recover first. After the divine bird got a bargain, he couldn't wait to find immortal treasures everywhere in this Juetian ridge. He drilled his head and ran into the danger zone. However, he didn't expect that the immortal treasures just now would have a guardian. If Luo Wuhan didn't run away in fear, Yi Qinghan and he might not be able to survive even if they joined hands. In just a few days in Juetian Ridge, Yi Qinghan and the divine bird encountered at least a dozen attacks. However, it wasn't a large-scale siege. Instead, it gave Yi Qinghan an opportunity. It was easy to dodge a spear in the open but hard to defend against a stab in the dark. These dozen attacks caused a lot of trouble for Yi Qinghan. There were a few times when he was almost seriously injured. However, in this Juetian Ridge, Yi Qinghan felt relaxed. He could both hunt for treasures and exhaust the enemy. On the 8th day of entering Juetian Ridge, a black shadow was shuttling among the assassins of the 9 Kills sect. No one paid attention to him. Yan Yunbei appeared in the hinterland of Juetian Ridge. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was also in the hinterland. The distance between the two sides was less than 300 miles. At this moment, Yi Qinghan encountered another attack. This time, it was 4 assassins attacking together. The mountain forest collapsed and attracted a large vicious beast. The area of effect was very wide. Finally, Yan Yunbei was attracted. Yan Yunbei silently approached the battlefield and looked at Yi Qinghan in the center of the battlefield. He didn't go up to help. He understood that if he appeared now, he would be courting death. Yan Yunbei hid on top of a mountain peak and overlooked the battlefield. A profound, immortal vicious beast was sent flying several times by Yi Qinghan. However, this vicious beast seemed to have its eyes on Yi Qinghan. No matter how Yi Qinghan attacked, he couldn't completely kill it. This almost exhausted all of Yi Qinghan's immortal spiritual force. Time was running out. Yi Qinghan had no choice but to throw the divine bird out. This sovereign is the emperor of 10,000 beasts. Bastard, you still haven't retreated after seeing this sovereign. The divine bird rushed out and roared while raising its fist. Roar, that vicious beast roared. Looking at the divine bird, it actually took a few steps back involuntarily. Then, it turned around and ran away. F***ck. What the hell? If I had known, I wouldn't have fought for so long. Yi Qinghan cursed speechlessly. Bloodline. Among all living things, especially beasts, the power of bloodline was the most terrifying. The divine bird had the bloodline of the divine phoenix. At this moment, there was the blood of the immortal phoenix rolling in his body. The phoenix was the sovereign of all birds, respected by all beasts. The divine bird's bloodline aura wasn't pure. It only scared that vicious beast away. If its bloodline was slightly purer, that vicious beast would have knelt down and submitted. When the divine bird saw that profound immortal vicious beast running away, it instantly grinned and laughed. Ha ha ha, this sovereign's tiger body shakes and all beasts retreat. Yi Qinghan shook his head. He didn't suspect the bloodline. He only thought that it was the soul of the immortal phoenix in the bracelet. At this moment, a black shadow sped past. Yi Qinghan was about to draw his sword and kill it when that person suddenly slowed down. Yi, it's me. Yan Yunbei tore off his mask and pulled Yi Qinghan to a hidden place. Yi Qinghan didn't expect Yan Yunbei to come here. He immediately said excitedly, "Brother, why are you here?" "Cut the crap. Take this map. It's the route that I described myself. I can't stay with you for too long. Otherwise I'll be dead." Yan Yunbei handed over the first map and said in a deep voice. Chapter 2444. Yan Yunbei took out a map and handed it to Yi Qinghan. He looked around nervously. He was only an Earth immortal. Immortal Earth immortals shouldn't have appeared in such a dangerous place. Yet, he risked his life to come here. Yi Qinghan looked at the map. Some places were clearly marked with the number of experts. He couldn't help feeling moved. Even he wouldn't have been able to describe such a map in such detail. Moreover, it had already been discovered by others. "Brother Yan, you're taking too much of a risk," Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Yan Yunbei shook his head. "Cut the crap. The Kuang sect can do without me, but it can't do without you. Right now, the Kuang sect is in the Kuang manor of the Qing Zun Immortal Empire. Princess Xianyuan helped us to get a treasure land for us to cultivate and recuperate. Everyone is waiting for you. Also, there will be people from the Spirit Central main city to receive you. Once you enter the Qing Zun Immortal Empire, you'll be safe." Yi Qinghan looked at Yan Yunbei. His cultivation was too low. It wasn't safe, especially on this route. Since he appeared, he would definitely be pursued. What? An immortal robe appeared in his hand. It was the 5 elements escape technique. He also took out the poisonous tooth dagger. This immortal robe isn't bad. It belonged to the 9 Kills King, and I took it after I killed him. I hope you don't mind it. It's the 5 elements evasion technique, a mystic immortal rank technique of the 9 Kills sect. Also, the venomous Fong dagger is a mid-mystic immortal rank immortal treasure. The poison on it can kill undying heavenly immortals easily. Take it and protect yourself during this period of time. Yan Yunbei didn't hesitate. After all, he didn't want to die. He put on the armor and dripped his blood to bind it. Although he couldn't use its defense to its peak, it wouldn't be easy for immortal heaven immortals to kill him in a short time. Then, he put away the 5 elements escape technique and held the poisonous tooth dagger. Take care. Remember, Spirit Central City. Yan Yunbei said in a low voice. Then, he left quietly and hid in the forest. Yi Qinghan held the map and information that Yan Yunbei had given him. He took a deep breath and then walked out to attract the attention of those assassins. He didn't want them to notice Yan Yunbei's path. However, the projection was aimed at the entire world. Since Yan Yunbei had appeared, he would definitely attract the attention of many people, especially the 9 Kills sect and the Ultimate Peak sect. There was one more prey, an immortal earth, immortal high-level Yan Yunbei. Yi Qinghan held the Tonggu saber in his hand and led the divine bird to search for treasures everywhere. He did not plan to leave Juexian Ridge immediately. Although this place was dangerous, it was suitable for him to survive. After all, this place was not suitable for large-scale killing, and there were still many immortal treasures to be found. Yi Qinghan and the divine bird searched for treasures while cultivating. They hoped to raise their cultivation to the mystic immortal level. Once they reached the mystic immortal level, their combat power would increase by a lot. They would not be so powerless when facing a mid-stage mystic immortal. A large number of immortal treasures in Juexian Ridge were kept by the divine bird and Yi Qinghan in the immortal ring. Everywhere they went, they plucked the feathers of wild geese. Even the wild beasts were disgusted by Yi Qinghan. However, his aura was too strong. Ordinary wild beasts did not dare to approach him. Once the divine bird unleashed its bloodline, even mystic immortal ferocious beasts would have to retreat. Buzz. Just as the two of them were wandering in the hinterland of Juexian Ridge, the bracelet on the divine bird's hand suddenly vibrated again, attracting the divine bird's attention. F***ck, I am the one who is good at searching for treasures. How come the bracelet can sense the good things that I can't sense? The divine bird was furious. It felt insulted. Yi Qinghan looked at the divine bird and asked in a low voice, "What's the matter?" The divine bird shook its head and looked around. Although the bracelet reminded it, it could only sense a trace of the aura of the supreme treasure. It did not know where it was. Buzz. The bracelet vibrated again, as if it was also confirming the exact location of the treasure. Yi Qinghan also sensed something. The Tonggu saber in his hand was vibrating. An inexplicable call came from the bottom of his heart. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan could not help but step forward. Buzz, the Tonggu saber wailed and vibrated, as if it was submitting. Yi Qinghan's saber was filled with the profoundness of the saber. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan increased his speed and rushed to the front left. His eyes flashed. A cliff hung in the sky. The fog was thick and the visibility was very low. At this point, the divine bird's premonition was also getting stronger. The frequency of the bracelet's vibration increased. However, they had not confirmed the location of the immortal treasure. Yi Qinghan's target was very clear. An immortal treasure was calling out to him. The immortal treasure had acknowledged him. The Tonggu saber is submitting. The immortal treasure in front should be a saber-type supreme treasure. The great Tao of saber in Yi Qinghan's blood was awakening. He waved his hand and carried the Tonggu saber on his back. His hands formed a seal and mobilized the great Tao of saber. The saber intent filled the air and rushed to the sky. Boom, boom, boom. Saber Tao rumbled. Thousands of sabers bowed to the emperor. In terms of the heart of the saber, Yi Qinghan was the most solid. In this life, he loved sabers the most. Every immortal weapon was basically a saber. Whoosh! The fog was blown away. A saber hum shook heaven and earth. Saber-Chi rushed to the sky, alarming the powerhouses in all directions. On Big Boss Mountain, more than 100 big bosses sat up straight and stared at the projection. They looked at the fog in front of them in surprise. Clearly, Luo Wuhan had also broadcasted the projection to a key location. He had discovered the supreme treasure, but he himself understood that the supreme treasure had been attracted by Yi Qinghan. He could snatch the immortal fruit, but supreme treasures were only obtained by the fated ones. If he snatched it today, Yi Qinghan would not be able to obtain it, and he himself would not be able to obtain it. What's that? Many big bosses on Big Boss Mountain asked in unison. A natural supreme treasure. It should be a Chaos Saber embryo. It's at least at the mystic immortal level. It might be a self-growing type. It won't be difficult for it to reach the golden immortal level in the future. A low voice came from the projection. It was Luo Wuhan replying to the people on Big Boss Mountain. A self-growing natural supreme treasure was worth more than a city. If it was offered to the immortal emperor, the favor it would receive would be endless. Boom. Yi Qinghan's palms danced in the sky. At this moment, the great Tao of Saber actually crushed countless small Daos and great Daos, distorting time and space. In the abyss, a long saber embryo about 7 feet long was about to be uprooted from the ground. It vibrated continuously, and the mineral materials in the abyss were shattered. Its domineering aura far exceeded the 7 feet heavy saber. Its weight was also not on the same level. How could an ordinary weapon compare to a natural supreme treasure? Compared to it, the 7 feet heavy saber was only an ordinary weapon. His black hair danced wildly. Yi Qinghan's aura soared into the galaxy. His domineering aura spread through the universe through the projection. At this moment, the immortal world was shocked by his domineering aura. Roar! Yi Qinghan roared into the sky. He waved his hand and grabbed, and the void hand reached into the abyss. The roar of dragons and tigers intertwined with the sound of saber. The recognition from the wanton saber embryo ignited the domineering aura in Yi Qinghan's bones. Emperor of Sabers. It was the man in front of him who could crush thousands of Daos with one look. Rise! Boom, whoosh! A saber light tore through the void, collapsing mountains and rivers. The earth trembled. A long saber was uprooted from the ground and rushed into the clouds. The might of the saber was vast and mighty, causing the mountains and rivers to cry and the beasts to prostrate themselves. The saber light's Tao connotations spread and shook thousands of miles. Just as everyone was shocked, the frenzied saber tore through the void and appeared in front of Yi Qinghan. Its shape was similar to the 7 feet heavy saber, but it was stricter and more domineering. It was as heavy as a star. It had absorbed endless spiritual energy and countless essences of heaven and earth for countless years. It was not something the 7 feet heavy saber could compare to. Boom! Yi Qinghan reached out and grabbed the chaotic saber embryo. It was as if he was holding a star. Veins popped out all over his body. As soon as he grabbed the saber embryo, his aura became extraordinary. He glanced around with disdain, shaking thousands of layers of space. Even Mount Jingfan of the ancient immortal world was shocked. Innate Saber Emperor. Chapter 2445. Before the blade was sharpened, it had already shocked the entire galaxy and made all Daos submit. If it was sharpened, it would definitely cause mountains and rivers to collapse. Hua! Yi Qinghan waved his hand and pressed on the unsharpened blade. His blood wrapped around the blade, and there was blade intent in his bones, causing the blade to tremble in excitement. It recognized its master. The blade had completely recognized Yi Qinghan. From now on, no one would be able to take it away from him. You are also 7 feet. Let's call you 7 feet crazy. I will treat you as my son and cherish you for the rest of my life. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and caressed the blade with both hands. It was as if he was caressing his beloved woman. Only those who loved the blade would understand this tenderness. Hum, the blade let out a long hum as if it liked this name very much. Merge with me and sharpen. Yi Qinghan held the blade with both hands and used his flesh to sharpen it. He used his soul to awaken the spirit of the blade. Hua! The primal chaos saber billet vibrated, its Taoist connotation boundless, and it had its own consciousness. It was indeed a natural supreme treasure that could grow on its own. It was hard to find one in a million years, and there weren't many of them in the entire immortal world. There were a few in the ancient immortal world, and the main reason why Mount Jingfan entered the ancient immortal world was to obtain a natural supreme treasure. Big Brother Mountain. Boom. Marquis Xuanlong was furious. He pointed at the Eastern Emperor Grand Exalt and shouted, "You bastard ruined my plans! How can someone who can gain the recognition of a natural treasure be a petty person? The saber is the master of all weapons. The one who is approved by the primal chaos saber billet must be an overlord among men. He is the supreme leader of my army. If I can get my hands on this child, I can definitely change the world. He came to my door, but you actually drove him away, causing me to miss a great opportunity." Eastern Emperor Grand Exalt's face was pale. He clenched his fist and didn't know what to say. Eastern Emperor Grand Exalt wanted to say something but stopped. It was impossible to protect Yi Qinghan now. Marquis Xuanlong couldn't be protected either because Yi Qinghan only recognized Zhang Fan and Qing Zun Immortal Empire's Xianyuan Qingyun. Only the two of them could help him in times of danger. Bastard! How could Marquis Xuanlong not know Yi Qinghan's current state of mind? If he wanted to help him now, how could he obtain loyalty? There weren't many people who would provide timely assistance, who would need the icing on the cake. At this moment, the happiest person was none other than Zhang Fan. He was more than wild with joy. With this treasure, Yi Qinghan would be invincible. Perhaps the end of this hunting game could already be seen. Marquis Xuanlong, this junior feels that this matter cannot be blamed on Marquis Taizun. What do you say? Zhang Fan bowed slightly and asked flatly. Marquis Xuanlong's face changed. He looked at Zhang Fan and clenched his fists. Then, he looked at the projection of Yi Qinghan's back. His eyes flashed with killing intent. If you serve me, you can enjoy all the treasures in the world. If you become my enemy, how can I let you live? Marquis Xuanlong already had a conclusion in his heart. He didn't want Yi Qinghan to leave the Northern Divine Prefecture alive. The moment he entered the Azure Sovereign Immortal Empire, they would definitely meet on the battlefield. At Juetian Ridge, the saber light shook the sky. The great Tao of the saber crushed all Daos, and all beasts prostrated themselves. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's chaos billet saber was no longer a billet because it had already been sharpened. It was even more domineering than Berserk and contained endless Tao. It was a natural treasure. Perhaps even golden immortal grade weapons were inferior to it. With Berserk in his hand, Yi Qinghan's aura rose by countless times. Ha 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 ha! I will raise my saber and ask the heavens to laugh. I will leave my heart and guts behind. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan raised his saber and slashed down. The saber light cut through the void and directly split the cliff in front of him into two pieces. The overlord of men, the supreme of the army. Marquis Xuanlong's description was absolutely correct. Yi Qinghan was the epitome of domineering and manly. At this moment, Divine Bird Sovereign Yi involuntarily took a step back and looked at Yi Qinghan's back in horror. He muttered, "Damn, he surpassed me again. How can a man be so handsome?" Thump, 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 Yi Qinghan's heart was beating like a dragon's roar. He was extremely excited. He turned around and faced the projection. It was as if he was looking at the entire immortal world through the projection. "Even the heavens are helping me," Yi Qinghan said lightly. His voice was like a bell, vast and mighty. This one sentence silenced everyone and rendered the big shots speechless. After a long time, the great Peak Mountain Master and Marquis Zun Long looked at each other and said in unison, "The current Yi Qinghan has already surpassed the great circle of the immortal heavenly immortal realm. Even mystic immortal beginner stage cannot touch him. Mystic immortal intermediate stage is allowed." "This is not fair," Zhang Fan said in a low voice. The great Peak Mountain Master asked, "How is this fair?" Zhang Fan's breath stagnated. He was speechless. How was this fair in the immortal world? If there was fairness, why would there be a projection of a hunting game? No one spoke up for Zhang Fan. Once a monster like Yi Qinghan became strong, he would definitely change the world. No one wished for such a person to appear in the enemy's territory. The Golden Immortal Realm big shots of the Qing Zun Immortal Empire didn't support Zhang Fan because of Sikong Tanlong's backing. They were weak. Zhang Fan had just entered the big shot realm. He wasn't strong enough to change the previous order. The Great Peak Mountain Master, Miao Zun, and the other experts of the Great Peak Mountain were silent. They signaled Zhang Fan to bear with it. After all, the Great Peak Mountain couldn't go against all the Golden Immortal Realm big shots. If you can send out early-stage profound immortals, then you should at least remind Yi Qinghan. Also, there can only be one mid-stage profound immortal in each of the 3 trials, no more than that. Zhang Fan argued with reason and spoke in a low voice. This time, no one objected. If there were too many mystic immortal intermediate stage experts, this game would be meaningless. In the Juetian Ridge, Luo Wuhan slowly appeared in front of Yi Qinghan and reminded him, "Since you have obtained the Chaos Blade Billet, the rules of the game have changed. Now, mystic immortal intermediate stage experts are allowed to fight. However, there can only be one mystic immortal intermediate stage expert in each of the 3 stages." Yi Qinghan's breath stagnated. With Berserk, he could only fight mystic immortal beginner stage expert. Once a mystic immortal intermediate stage expert appeared, he wouldn't be able to fight them. At most, both sides would be injured. "Those people want me dead," Yi Qinghan said coldly. Luo Wuhan nodded calmly and said, "The odds will change greatly. However, I still think that you will have a higher chance of dying in the last 3 stages. Therefore, my bet won't change." Yi Qinghan looked at Luo Wuhan in the distance and grinned, revealing a row of white teeth. He said quietly, "If I were you, I would bet everything I have and bet that I can leave the Northern Divine region alive." Luo Wuhan shook his head and said with certainty, "Since the people from Big Boss Mountain agreed to let a mystic immortal intermediate stage expert fight, it means that they don't intend to let you leave alive. Take care of yourself. Even I feel pity for you. If it wasn't for this generation's paragon, it would definitely be you." "Are you the previous generation's paragon?" Yi Qinghan looked up and asked. Luo Wuhan nodded and said proudly, "You can say so." Yi Qinghan clenched Berserk and said firmly, "This generation's paragon will be me. If I don't want to die, no one can kill me. Of course, unless some shameless big boss personally makes a move. Then let's wait and see. If a mystic immortal advanced stage expert makes a move, I will help you eliminate him. I personally respect fairness. You don't have to worry about this," Luo Wuhan said calmly. "Many thanks." Yi Qinghan smiled and replied. Then, he pulled the divine bird and walked into the distance. Chapter 2446. Juetian Ridge was a picturesque place with beautiful mountains and rivers, but danger lurked everywhere. There were monsters everywhere, but this place was a paradise for adventurers. Immortal treasures could be seen everywhere. Yi Qinghan was not in a hurry to leave Juetian Ridge. Instead, he wandered around Juetian Ridge, looking for immortal materials and treasures. However, his real purpose was not to look for treasures, but to wait for Yan Yunbei. Yan Yunbei had obtained the 5 elements escape immortal technique and was cultivating in the dark. Yi Qinghan was looking for suitable resources for him to cultivate. He was also looking for an opportunity to break through. Once he broke through to the initial stage of Xian Immortal, he would be able to fight a mid-stage Xian Immortal with the 7 feet madness formed by the Chaos Blade. Yi Qinghan had toured Juexian Ridge for decades. This area was completely destroyed by him. None of the 300 assassins arranged by the 9 Kills sect survived. Even the spies were all killed. The Xian Immortals in the 7th stage went deep into Juexian Ridge. There were 4 Xian Immortals and 300 Sky Immortal experts. They were all valiant characters of the ultimate peak mountain. They gathered together and prepared to besiege Yi Qinghan. However, they were defeated by Yi Qinghan as soon as they met. 4 Xian Immortals were heavily injured, and 300 Sky Immortal experts were killed or injured. Nearly 700 people died in Juexian Ridge. This was not a small number, but it was still a drop in the ocean for the 9 Kills sect and the ultimate peak mountain. It was just the tip of the iceberg. Yi Qinghan was unwilling to leave Juexian Ridge. The people of the ultimate peak mountain were getting impatient. They were about to ask Luo Wuhan to drive Yi Qinghan away when something strange happened in Juexian Ridge. The immortal energy between heaven and earth was twisting and surging. The 5 elements lost control and even affected the projection. The projection began to disappear temporarily, and the image became blurry. Luo Wuhan looked into the distance, his eyes piercing through the void. He saw Yan Yunbei swallowing the immortal spirit energy between heaven and earth, controlling the 5 elements. The aura on his body was fused with the 5 elements. If he was not a golden immortal, it would not be easy to find him. What a powerful concealment technique. His control over his aura is perfect. Isn't he the high-level earthly immortal kid who gave Yi Qinghan the map? It's only been a few decades, but he's already reached the immortal heaven immortal stage. Could it be that everyone around Yi Qinghan is so heaven-defying? Luo Wuhan looked at Yan Yunbei in astonishment. Yan Yunbei was still in front of his eyes a second ago, but in the next second, he had disappeared. Luo Wuhan was shocked to find that Yan Yunbei had disappeared right under his nose. F***CK I'm a sovereign of the previous generation. I've never experienced something like this in my entire life. Luo Wuhan looked around in shock. He carefully searched for Yan Yunbei's location. After searching for an incense stick worth of time, he finally found Yan Yunbei's location. Luo Wuhan was ranked 3rd in the heaven ranking of the previous generation in the undying, immortal world. However, back then, the top 2 rankers had vanished from the ancient, immortal world. Hence, Luo Wuhan was the true paragon of the previous generation. Back then, no one could match up to him. Now that he was ranked as a major character, he was actually bypassed by a little fellow. Luo Wuhan scratched his head and curiously placed his projection on Yan Yunbei's body. He temporarily let go of Yi Qinghan. Countless people stared at Yan Yunbei's indifferent face. It was very unfamiliar. He was only an initial stage immortal heaven immortal. He was nothing in the undying immortal world. To be able to be seen by a major character in the undying immortal world was a great honor. Yan Yunbei was currently absorbing immortal spiritual energy to control the 5 elements. He didn't pay attention to Luo Wuhan. Yi Qinghan approached Yan Yunbei with the 7 feet heavy machine in his hand. He raised his head to look at Luo Wuhan and said in a deep voice, "Senior, this matter has nothing to do with him. You shouldn't have broadcasted it." No. He's already involved. You can't say that it has nothing to do with him. Luo Wuhan shook his head. Yi Qinghan frowned and asked, "You're trying to kill him?" Luo Wuhan shrugged and said faintly, "You're the target of 9 Kills Gate and Ultimate Peak Mountain. As long as he's willing, he can take me as his master. No one can kill him." Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and looked at Yan Yunbei, who was still in the immortal stage. He knew that Yan Yunbei didn't need a master. The key was that Luo Wuhan's cultivation technique wasn't suitable for him. Cultivation technique isn't a problem. The martial record system has all kinds of cultivation technique. Golden Immortal Stage, Ancient Golden Immortal Stage. As long as he's willing, I can nurture him with all my strength. Luo Wuhan said seriously. I can't make the decision. Senior, wait until he wakes up. Yi Qinghan replied solemnly. Luo Wuhan didn't speak anymore. He just waited silently. He pretended that he didn't hear Big Brother Mountain's request. Big Brother Mountain didn't have any bad or good feelings towards this little fella that suddenly appeared. He was just an Immortal Heaven Immortal Stage rookie. No matter how talented he was, he wouldn't be able to enter the Big Brother's eyes. However, Luo Wuhan was different. He was a monster and naturally liked monsters. Moreover, he was very young. Everyone was waiting. Yi Qinghan was also waiting. After Yan Yunbei broke through to the Immortal Heaven Immortal Stage, it took him another 8 months to reach the peak of the Immortal Stage. His aura was restrained and the 5 elements were combined. He was 30% stronger than the experts of the 9 Kill sect who had cultivated the 5 elements escape art for 10,000 years. This is the importance of talent. Others can't reach his level even if they cultivate for tens of thousands of years. Luo Wuhan praised indifferently. Yan Yunbei didn't know Luo Wuhan. After waking up, he immediately stood beside Yi Qinghan and looked at Luo Wuhan cautiously. Yi, who is he? Yan Yunbei hadn't spoken for a long time. At this moment, his voice was a little hoarse. As the oldest ancient killing god, Yan Yunbei's temperament was far stronger than the others of the insane sect. Especially that battle intent, it made Luo Wuhan feel strange. He was only at the immortal stage. How could he have such a noble temperament like a human emperor? Yi Qinghan lowered his voice and said, he's one of the higher-ups of the martial arts record system. He's also projecting. He has taken a fancy to your talent and wants to take you in. He promised to get you any cultivation technique you want. It's up to you whether you agree or not. However, you've been projected by him. If you don't agree, I'm afraid you'll be in danger. Do you know this person? Yan Yunbei glanced at Luo Wuhan and asked. Yi Qinghan shrugged and replied, I don't know much about him. However, based on my intuition, he's not a bad person. However, he's not a good person either. As a big shot, he's just playing around. Was this an opportunity? Yan Yunbei looked at Luo Wuhan. He knew a little about the martial arts record system. After all, Xianyuan Qinyun had stayed in the insane sect for so long. She had told him about many forces, especially super forces like the martial arts record system, Jingfan Mountain, and Extreme Peak Mountain. You're still very young. You look about the same age as me. I feel strange to have you as my master. Yan Yunbei was moved, but he still couldn't accept it. However, Luo Wuhan didn't get angry. Instead, he grinned and said, You're not only talented, but your eyesight is also good. You know how to talk better than Yi Qinghan and his spirit pet. I like it. Not bad. I'm very young. Back in the day, I was also a flower in the immortal world. Countless beauties chased after me. Although I'm young, I'm the master. I don't want you to leave your sect. I just want you to take me as your master. You don't even need to kneel. We're all young people. The formality isn't important. Are you willing? Martial arts record system. The entire immortal world is rich enough to rival a country. I don't dare to say that it's comparable to the 5 great immortal countries, but it's comparable to the other forces. Yan Yunbei looked at Luo Wuhan. Why did he feel that this person was unreliable? Chapter 2447. Yan Yunbei was cautious and serious by nature. He couldn't accept such an unreliable master like Luo Wuhan. However, Yi Qinghan felt that it was to his liking. Senior, you can see that my talent is not bad. Why don't you take me in as well? Just give me a few golden immortal level immortal techniques and I'll be easily satisfied. Ancient golden immortal level immortal techniques are too high level. I don't want them. Yi Qinghan laughed. Supreme Yi immediately grinned and said, Senior, for the sake of me giving you 3 fire dragon golden pairs, take me in as well. I'm the emperor of all beasts, the supreme among humans. Supreme Yi is the same. Black lines appeared on Luo Wuhan's forehead. He looked at the two of them angrily and said disdainfully, Even if I don't have any descendants, I won't take you two in. Hurry up and get lost. This game has just begun. You can be arrogant if you can survive the next round. TSK. Yi Qinghan and Supreme Yi couldn't help but wave their hands in disdain. Anyway, this guy wouldn't attack them. They weren't afraid of him at all. Looking at Yi Qinghan's expression, Yan Yunbei could guess that Yi Qinghan wanted him to become this person's disciple. After all, the journey was very dangerous. If he didn't agree, he might die. Moreover, the martial arts record system was a superforce. If he could learn more, it would be beneficial. A true supreme would travel thousands of miles and worship thousands of people as their masters. Disciple Yan Yunbei greets master. So far, you are my second master. Please accept a bow from disciple. Yan Yunbei didn't hesitate anymore. He didn't care about formalities like Luo Wuhan said. Respecting one's master was the most basic etiquette of the ancient killing god. Hua. Yan Yunbei knelt down on one knee and was extremely respectful. Luo Wuhan suddenly grinned and said, Hee hee, good boy. Although I'm your second master, you are my first disciple. Hurry up and get up. If you can kneel down, it means that you still respect me. Other formalities don't matter. I'm satisfied. Yan Yunbei quickly stood up. He stood like a pine tree and moved like the wind. His actions were swift and decisive. In this aspect, even Yi Qinghan was not as good as him. Yi Qinghan patted Yan Yunbei's shoulder and said, Congratulations, no matter where you are, Guangzhong will always be your home. When you become strong, Guangzhong will be waiting for your protection. Yan Yunbei nodded and whispered, Indeed, the insane sect is our home. We need to be strong to have the right to speak. Yi Qinghan smiled. He patted Yan Yunbei's shoulder again and slowly retreated. After a few dozen meters, Yi Qinghan pulled the divine bird to the edge of Juexian Ridge and headed east. Whoosh! Along the way, Yi Qinghan was extremely tyrannical and swept through all the minor trials. Several months later, he passed 2 minor trials and successfully reached the 11th trial. The 11th trial was a major trial, and it was a trial that involved a mid-stage profound immortal. 6 low-stage profound immortals and 1 mid-stage profound immortal were fighting a peak immortal heaven immortal. It seemed a little ridiculous, but the reality was so cruel. Yi Qinghan looked at the map that Yan Yunbei gave him. 6 low-stage profound immortals were already difficult to fight. Now that there was a mid-stage profound immortal, their chances of winning were almost zero. Yi Qinghan touched his nose and looked at Supreme Yi. He grinned and asked, Supreme Yi, how are you going to fight? If we surrender, do you think they will let us go? Supreme Yi asked with a flattering smile. Yi Qinghan licked his teeth and shook his head with certainty. Even if the people from Endless Peak Mountain and 9 Kills sect want to end the live broadcast of the hunting game, the big bosses will not allow it to end. The martial arts recording system is even more unlikely to agree. How much is the bet this time? Now that the live broadcast is over, no one can afford it. Supreme Yi rubbed his small hands and cursed, Motherf asterisk cur, these sons of B asterisk cheese are too much. A mid-stage profound immortal wants to fight us, why don't they get a high-stage profound immortal to fight us? Yi Qinghan smiled. Without strength, life was cheap. At least this time, he was given a chance. If it wasn't for the fact that he was in Jingfan Mountain's main city, he would have died. 4 Sides Mountain, this is a path that we have to take. The top of the mountain is very flat and has a radius of about 30 miles. It is suitable for experts to fight. Think of a way, otherwise this trial will be our burial ground. Yi Qinghan stopped outside Four Sides City. If he continued forward, he would reach Four Sides Mountain. This trial was a sure kill trial, so he had to be careful. Supreme Yi leaned against a large rock. His legs were about to reach the sky. He had a blade of grass in his mouth as he stretched lazily and said helplessly, "What can I do? If we reveal our strength now, those King big bosses will definitely change the rules. In short, they won't give up until they kill us." The group of people on Big Boss Mountain had a slight change in expression. Supreme Ye's words were clearly projected, so it would be strange if the big bosses weren't angry. The big boss of the martial arts record system, Luo Longyin, coughed dryly and asked through a special projection transmission method, "Son, find out the origin of this Supreme Yi. Find out what he is talking about." Luo Wuhan was actually Luo Longyin's son. It was extremely rare to have two big bosses in one family. After Luo Wuhan heard the question, he said indifferently, "It's normal for people to have strength. Can you not always think of killing them under unfair circumstances?" This sentence was directly transmitted to Big Boss Mountain by Luo Wuhan through a special channel. The other regions couldn't hear it at all. Many big bosses were speechless by this sentence. Luo Longyin's old face turned red. This was his own son, and he actually answered him in front of so many people. Because of his relationship with Yan Yunbei, Luo Wuhan was already subconsciously biased towards Yi Qinghan. Even if Yi Qinghan really died in the later stages, Yan Yunbei couldn't blame him. There were still many big bosses who wanted to kill Yi Qinghan. If they wanted to kill Yi Qinghan, they didn't need to do it themselves. Announce to the public that anyone who kills Yi Qinghan will be rewarded with 3 billion celestial coins. Anyone who wants to participate in the hunting game can inform the local big bosses to directly teleport to the northern divine region. Marquis Zun Long said indifferently, "No problem, it's just a small matter. If there's an expert in the top 10 of the heaven list in my faction, I'm willing to open a teleportation gate for him alone." This old man also supports it. Marquis Zun Long's suggestion was seconded by many big bosses. Only a few people didn't support it, and only 3 to 5 people remained neutral. This time, Big Boss Mountain didn't want to mobilize mid-stage mystic immortal experts, but the top 10 experts of the heaven list of the younger generation. 3 billion celestial coins was nothing to the big bosses, but to the younger generation, even if it was a high-stage mystic immortal, it was still a huge sum. With such a huge reward, there would definitely be brave men. When the news spread, the world was shocked. The top 10 experts of the heaven list of the various states were all moved. Killing Yi Qinghan would not only give them the Chaos Blade embryo, but also 3 billion celestial coins. They could also enter the big boss's eyes and have a meteoric rise from then on. At this moment, the ancient heavenly emperor and Jingfan mountain master still remained silent and watched quietly. In terms of mental state, the two of them were definitely top-notch existences among the big bosses. Even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of their eyes, their hearts wouldn't skip a beat. Only these two people could really change the attitude of the Great Peak Mountain Master and Marquis Zun Long. If the two of them didn't join forces, Big Boss Mountain would only be controlled by them. Big Boss Mountain's decision was quickly made known to Luo Wuhan. "You're crazy. In the past, the live projection hunting game wasn't played like this. I've invested 10 billion celestial coins. Now that you're interfering, who's going to compensate me so much money?" Luo Wuhan scolded without holding back. Luo Longyin didn't pass on his complaint to the other people of Big Boss Mountain. Losing 10 billion celestial coins for the martial arts recording system was nothing, but offending the big bosses of the world would be a huge loss. Not long after, Yi Qinghan received the news that the rules were changed again. He couldn't help but fly into a rage. He pointed at the sky and scolded, "Do you guys have any shame? Changing the rules of the game just like that? Do you really think I'm made of mud?" Chapter 2448. Yi Qinghan cursed, but the big shots were indifferent. What they wanted was fun, not the feeling of an ant. Let's go to Juexian Ridge. Today I will play with them." Yi Qinghan was furious. He pulled the divine bird and walked back. Luo Wuhan didn't care anymore. Anyway, the rules of the game could be changed at will. He should give Yi Qinghan some privileges. A few days later, Yi Qinghan and the divine bird returned to Juexian Ridge. There were countless monsters in Juexian Ridge, and there was no lack of transformation experts. Screech! Yi Qinghan transformed into a dragon and flew into the sky. He looked down on all living beings and mobilized all the beasts in the world. Whoosh! The divine bird transformed into a phoenix and covered the sky. Its bloodline erupted, crushing all kinds of immortal birds and commanding all beasts. This could also be considered as a foundation. The soul of the immortal phoenix in the divine bird bracelet accompanied the fluctuation of the divine bird's bloodline, intimidating all the transformed monsters. Dragon Phoenix stack, myriad beasts worshipped the emperor. Roar! Myriad beasts galloped, worshipping the dragon and the phoenix. Countless monsters galloped with an imposing aura that shattered the earth. How many monsters were in Juexian Ridge? Perhaps even Luo Wuhan didn't know. Giant pythons, flood dragons, and ancient giant beasts were all awakened. They might not care about the thin noble bloodline in Yi Qinghan and the divine bird, but the soul fluctuation in the bracelet supported the divine bird. Even Luo Wuhan felt pressured, and he even felt the danger of death. The blood in his body was suppressed. Roar! Luo Wuhan's noble bloodline was stimulated. He roared towards the sky, and the veins all over his body bulged. His body emitted a monstrous pressure, and the blood in his body seemed to be boiling. One of the 16 ancient royal bloodlines. Emperor Luo's bloodline. The real big shots could tell at a glance that the founder of the martial record system was actually the Emperor Luo's bloodline. Luo Lamin was also shocked. He didn't expect Yi Qinghan and the divine bird to stimulate Luo Wuhan's bloodline. This had to threaten Luo Wuhan for him to involuntarily awaken his bloodline. The 16 ancient royal bloodlines were incomparably noble. Few people in the world could compare to them. This was also one of the talents. Screech! After the Luo Emperor's bloodline was awakened, it suppressed Yi Qinghan and the divine bird's bloodline to stagnate. Instead, it stimulated the soul of the celestial phoenix in the bracelet. Immortal fruit! The immortal phoenix's soul quickly sent the message to Supreme Yi. Supreme Yi waved his hand and took out a fire dragon golden pear and put it into his sleeve. The golden immortal fruit contained endless power, but in the blink of an eye, the medicinal power and immortal spiritual power in the fire dragon golden pear were completely devoured, leaving only a rotten kernel that would shatter with a single touch. Whoosh! Supreme Yi kept summoning immortal fruit. Not long after, the bracelet devoured 4 immortal fruits, and the soul in the bracelet was completely revived. Roar! The celestial phoenix's soul sensed the physical body of the divine bird sovereign Yi. Through the medium of the bracelet, it controlled his physical body. Its eyes pierced through the void, as if it could see the Big Brother mountain through the law of projection. The pressure of that gaze made the world silent. Yi Qinghan's entire body trembled. He was also shocked by the look in Supremacy Ye's eyes. The pressure in his eyes came from his bones, as if a phoenix had descended upon the world. Boom! Luo Wuhan's energy erupted and rushed into the galaxy. The true aura of a supreme king soared into the sky, but he still retreated at this moment. "I'm back!" A tender voice turned into the sound of an ancient bell that spread for thousands of miles, spreading through the endless mountains and rivers through the law of projection. Who was it? Who was back? The people of Big Brother Mountain sat up straight, including Marquis Xuanlong and the ancient heavenly emperor. That little guy has the soul of a supreme being from the ancient immortal world. The ancient heavenly emperor said calmly. Ha ha ha! Jingfan Mountain Lord laughed instead of being shocked. She clapped her hands and said, "This is interesting. It seems that the rules of this battle have to be changed." Jingfan Mountain Lord was obviously mocking Marquis Xuanlong and the Great Peak Mountain Lord for changing the rules casually. Marquis Xuanlong and the Great Peak Mountain Lord's expressions changed slightly. They clenched their iron fists tightly. They were not sure who the soul in the divine bird's body was and how much strength it still had, so they did not dare to act recklessly. At Juetian Ridge, the phoenix bloodline was vast and mighty. It suppressed all beasts and birds to the point that they had no choice but to come and meet it. Yi Qinghan reverted back to his original body. He held the 7-foot berserk hammer in his hand and pointed at the direction of the four-faced mountain. He said coldly, "All beasts, listen to my command. Follow the emperor to flatten the four-faced mountain. Anyone who dares to block the way will be flattened." Roar! All the beasts roared. The experts were as numerous as the clouds. The transformed experts knelt on one knee, not daring to disobey. "We obey the Emperor's command." Dragon and Phoenix were in harmony. Who dared to disobey? Once the berserk hammer was unleashed, who could fight against it? Whoosh! 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 The divine bird also transformed into a human and landed on the bodies of two mid-stage mystic immortal ancient creatures with Yi Qinghan. They could also transform, but they did not dare to do so in front of Yi Qinghan and the divine bird. "Let's go!" Boom! All the beasts rushed forward, and the Juetian Ridge was in chaos. Countless ferocious beasts rushed towards the four-faced mountain. The earth trembled, and all the trees swayed. Everywhere they passed turned into ruins. The beasts moved the mountains and overturned the seas. Two mid-stage mystic immortal transformed ferocious beasts, hundreds of mystic immortal ferocious beasts, and tens of thousands of heavenly immortal ferocious beasts. Such a beast tide could only be stopped by 10 mid-stage mystic immortal experts working together. The people of the four-faced city did not dare to participate. This was only a small city, and the strongest expert was only at the early stage of the mystic immortal realm. Who would dare to stop this beast tide that could devour everything? Several days later, the four-faced mountain was surrounded. All the beasts rushed to the top of the mountain from all directions. The experts of the ultimate peak mountain, who were prepared to encircle and annihilate Yi Qinghan, were all stunned. They were completely unprepared. There were too many ferocious beasts. They could not kill all of them. The only mid-stage mystic immortal expert was surrounded by two transformed ferocious beasts. They fought until the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The four-faced mountain was struck and sunk by dozens of meters. Yi Qinghan looked coldly at the sky. The corner of his mouth curled up as he said, "Ultimate Peak Mountain, 9 kills sect, you guys forced me. If you guys are not fair, then I am not fair. Today I want to see how you guys are going to change the rules." He was provoking the Big Brother Mountain. However, if he did not provoke them, how could the Big Brother Mountain let him off? Yi Qinghan already had nowhere to retreat. The Big Brother Mountain had no choice but to take action. Luo Longyin sent a message to Luo Wuhan and said seriously, "Inform Yi Qinghan that the rules will not be changed anymore. Tell him not to mobilize the beast tide. Otherwise, don't blame the high-level mystic immortals for taking action." Luo Wuhan shrugged. He watched as Yi Qinghan mobilized the beast tide to annihilate nearly 1,000 experts of the four-faced mountain. Then, he said to Yi Qinghan, "All right, I have vented my anger. Withdraw the beasts back to the extreme immortal ridge. Don't interfere with the survival of the beasts in the undying immortal world." Don't mobilize the beast tide in the future. Yi Qinghan looked at the four-faced mountain. Flesh and blood piled up like a mountain. Blood flowed like a river and rushed towards the cliffs of the four-faced mountain like a waterfall. So many experts of the ultimate peak mountain did not even leave behind a corpse. The one who died the most miserable death was that mid-stage mystic immortal expert. He was directly devoured by the two transformed ancient beasts. These are your words. The rules will not be changed anymore. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and said in a muffled voice. Luo Wuhan nodded and replied, if they change the rules again, don't blame me for changing my attitude. After all, I have also invested 10 billion celestial coins in the later stages. Yi Qinghan snorted and withdrew the beast. He said confidently, 10 billion. You will lose for sure. Chapter 2449. Today is Mother's Day, so I'll add a chapter. Everyone, please spend more time with your mothers. Read less. I'd rather my subscription fail today. Yi Qinghan was the only one who could beat Big Brother Mountain until it stopped changing the rules. Of course, he didn't rely on himself. He relied on the soul of the immortal phoenix in his bracelet. With that, Yi Qinghan arrogantly left the four-faced mountain and headed straight for the next stage. The 12th level was located in the hinterland of the North Divine Region, 3,000 miles south of Yizhou City. This was a small level. Yi Qinghan was too lazy to think about it. The map that Yin Yunbei gave him would at most add another young man on the heaven roll. It was not worth mentioning. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan went ahead alone. He had even put away his divine bird. He walked around with a frenzied blade in his hand. His aura was overwhelming, forcing everyone to retreat. No ordinary people dared to stop him. Ordinary people didn't dare to stop him, but it didn't mean that the people on the heaven roll didn't. Yi Qinghan had killed the 11th on the heaven roll, 9 kills king. He was good at assassination, but his real combat strength wasn't that strong. Therefore, that battle didn't deter the people on the heaven roll. A few days later, before Yi Qinghan arrived at Yizhou City, a cultivator ranked in the top 30 of the heaven roll of the Northern Divine Region stopped him. Before he could be arrogant, Yi Qinghan cut him in half along with his immortal weapon. He was instantly killed. 3 billion celestial coins made the people on the heaven roll step by step. However, most of them were in the top 30 of the heaven roll. There were very few in the top 20, let alone the top 10. In 12 days, Yi Qinghan had killed 8 of the top 30 experts of the Northern Divine Region. He had also killed 3 of the top 20 experts. Including the 9 kills king, he had killed almost half of the top 30 experts of the heaven leaderboard. Finally, the top 20 didn't dare to make a move. They could only wait for the top 10 to make a move. Outside of Yizhou City, countless people were moving about. They were all staring at the projection. At this moment, a young man walked out. His aura was very strong, but his face was a little ugly. His eyes almost reached his forehead, and his facial features were a little strange. The first impression he gave people was that he was a shape-shifted creature, but his evolution was a little strange. The 7th on the heaven leaderboard of the Northern Divine Region, Lan Dao, is he going to make a move? Although the Northern Divine Region was vast, there were only a few people in the top 10 of the heaven leaderboard in the Northern Divine Region. They were all famous, so he attracted everyone's attention as soon as he moved. Wielding the dragon scale sword, Rando quickly walked towards the place Yi Qinghan had to pass, the Yi Prefecture Ancient Road. On the ancient path, Lendo leaned against a stone tablet, waiting silently. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was walking over with the divine bird. Their auras were especially arrogant. Now, each of them was fighting a level and taking turns to rest. Whoosh! Lan Dao's figure flashed and appeared in the middle of the street, blocking the two of them. the 7th on the heaven leaderboard of the Northern Divine Region, Orchid Dao. I'm here to take your head, Lan Dao said coldly. The divine bird looked at Lan Dao in surprise and said disdainfully, Why are you blocking my path? You're so ugly, how do you have the courage to come out? To be able to live so long, I have to admire your courage and shamelessness. If I were like you, I would have killed myself already. Pooh, Lan Dao's face was red, and he was trembling with anger. He shouted angrily, My surname is Lan, Lan as in orchid, and Dao as in Dao. You little bastard, you're asking for death. The divine bird curled his lips in disgust and asked back, When did I say that? Wasn't what I said the truth? Look at your eyes, they're almost reaching your forehead. Be careful that the sun in June doesn't blind your dog eyes. You're so ugly, how did you evolve? Or are your parents ugly too? If that's the case, I can't blame you. After all, it's inherited. But if that's the case, I advise you not to get married and have children. It'll affect the future generations. For the sake of your son, hurry up and die. Don't block the way. Let us leave, we're in a hurry. Lan Dao was furious, and the dragon scale sword swept the void. Whoosh, boom! Lan Dao held the dragon scale sword and quickly slashed at the divine bird. But at this moment, his hands and feet were trembling with anger, and his combat strength had decreased by a lot. Yi Qinghan was also stunned by the divine bird's scolding. Looking at Lan Dao's face carefully, it was just as the divine bird said. The divine bird's words had probably touched Lan Dao's reverse scale. Whoosh! The divine bird took the sky and sped away, constantly toying with Lan Dao. Lan Dao's speed couldn't keep up with the divine bird at all, and he was led by the nose. Yi Qinghan shrugged, and leaned against an ancient tree to watch the battle. You're still angry? I'm the Emperor of Beasts. Looking at your ugly appearance, you should be a ferocious beast in human form. Now that you've seen your Emperor, why aren't you kneeling down? The divine bird shouted. Lan Dao was furious. He roared, and displayed his swordsmanship to the fullest. I'm a proper human. Damn be ****, if I don't chop you up and feed you to the dogs today, I'm not 7th on the heaven leaderboard. The divine bird flew high in the sky and mocked Lan Dao. What does it have to do with me whether you're 7th on the heaven leaderboard or not? In the next 30 days, if the first person on the heaven leaderboard dares to make a move, that position won't be his. It will be mine, Supreme Yi, ha ha ha. Whoosh, boom! Lan Dao slashed hundreds of times, but he missed by a hair's breadth each time. The divine bird flew higher and higher. Ha ha ha, idiot, I can fly. Come up and hit me. The divine bird was completely toying with Lan Dao. After a long time, Lan Dao finally understood. Killing the divine bird was better than killing Yi Qinghan. Damn it, I wonder what kind of B***tch raised a B***starred like you, Lan Dao cursed, and gave up on killing the divine bird. He turned his head to look at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan leaned against the ancient tree, stroking the 7-foot berserk. He looked at Lan Dao coldly, not taking him seriously. This person's combat power was not bad, and he was ranked 7th on the heaven leaderboard. He had enough capital, but his realm was a little low, and he was confused by the divine bird's scolding. At this point, his skills were not much. Fighting against Yi Qinghan was basically suicide. Whoosh, bang! Just as Lan Dao turned around, the divine bird swooped down from the sky. The bracelet on its wrist suddenly broke through the void, and landed directly on Lan Dao's back. Pfft! Lan Dao spat out a mouthful of blood. His soul seemed to have suffered a heavy blow. His vision turned black, and he fell to the ground. His soul was almost destroyed. TSK. How can such a small fry be ranked 7th on the heaven roll of the Northern Divine Region? Is there no one else in the Northern Divine Region? The divine bird stood on Orchid Dao's head and said proudly. His words enraged the younger generation of the Northern Divine Region. Orchid Dao's strength couldn't be said to be weak. It could only be said that the divine bird was too cheap. The immortal phoenix soul in the bracelet had been strengthened again. The bracelet's current strength was definitely stronger than the 7-foot berserker. However, in the later stages, the innate chaos blade blank would definitely be stronger. Yi Qinghan shrugged and said, "Kill those who offend me. Remember to take the dragon scale sword and all the treasures on you. Alright, you don't have to worry about this. This Supreme One is famous for plucking feathers from wild geese." The divine bird's palm landed on Lando's head. The powerful soul attack shattered his life force. Landau looked like a living person on the surface, but in fact, his soul and the life force of his body had been completely wiped out. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.